So, which indie game character does have the biggest?
God, right back into that cold open game. Yeah. I mean, it's objectively like we actually do have the stats on this because of Devolver, so we know it's Abramoff. So do we not count him because like that's actually known and it doesn't lend itself to speculation?
Or do we just like lay down that as the gauntlet? The free Coke can gauntlet, and then we just invite other indies to release the stats. That's a great point, because I know that a lot of devs and PRs do listen to this podcast, which is like, thank you, by the way. We're really flattered that you do. If you want to email us,
challenge Devolver.
Yeah, contact@indieventurepodcast.co.uk. Subject line, Pernus?
Good old 3 Coke can Abramar.
Oh, God.
3 Coke can Abramar.
You know what it is about Tim, though? He has the kind of audacity to behave like he's got a big dick, but he absolutely, like, that's his problem.
My brain was like, what if there was an indie Smash Bros, but just for the characters who claim to have the biggest dicks, and we'll
the biggest schlong. Yeah.
Really let them have it out.
What's the game?
Literally whip it out. So it's just Smash Bros, but it's literally like whip it out and see whose is bigger. That's the name of the game, because that's a very indie game title.
Whip it out is a very
whip
good,
it out and see who's biggest.
What about that dick game, Genital Jousting? Like, it would just be that game, but with indie game characters.
One of the first games to be Steam Deck verified, you may be interested to know.
Oh, that's nice. Really? They have to get the physics
good
right for that,
yeah. I think it was like
what a brilliant showcase.
Game,
yeah.
Something handheld. Anyway, should we start the podcast?
I think we definitely started the podcast.
Hello.
Sorry.
Laughing at the throat clearing.
Right. I'm just gonna don't take it the wrong way if I just don't look at either of you for a minute.
I feel like
that's fine. That's okay. Yeah. Avert your eyes while I commit a sin. Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Indieventure. After a 1-week season break, we are back with another exciting 15-episode run of the world's premier indie gaming podcast. Season 1 was considered a huge success, gaining an enormous listener base, including games journalists, ex-games journalists now working in PR, and blood-related family members. But with Season 2, we're aiming to go even bigger. This isn't going to be a simple rehash that fails to be as good as the original, like Season 2 of 24, where Jack Bauer's daughter spends like 10 episodes trapped in a cave by a mountain lion. Instead, we are the mountain lion, trapping great indie games within our podcast cave. I suppose in this metaphor, that makes you, the listener, Jack Bauer, which isn't as laboured as it sounds, because I can only assume that you're currently doing something far more important with your time, while we're in the background having our own separate and far less exciting adventure. Right, so that's halfway through.
This is great so far. Oh my God.
My name is Liam Richardson, and this season my arc will revolve around discovering RTS games and getting real weird about it. Elsewhere, Rebecca will face a complete personality rewrite. Fuck, I'll start that again. Gotta get it perfect. Elsewhere, Rebecca will face a complete personality rewrite and will spend the next 15 episodes saying how much she hates Monster Prom, going on long rants about how much she dislikes cute vampire boys and skeletons with soft lips. I have not played the game. Following her breakout role in Season 1, Rachel will now become a catchphrase character, frequently saying goofy at random intervals to thunderous applause. Yes, the light will slowly drain from her eyes each time this happens, but that's showbiz, baby. This week, we're chatting about a bunch of amazing games that have all been released within the last few weeks, with the majority all dropping on one specific date. May 9th may go down in history as the greatest day for indie releases ever, and we're here 3 weeks later to unpack it in pretty much its entirety. We'll be discussing Animal Well, Sucker for Love, Date to Die For, Crow Country, Hades 2, and many, many more. Goodness me, I do love to yap, don't I? With me as always is my two besties, Rebecca Jones.
Hello.
And Rachel Watts.
Hey.
Hi. God, I felt like I was like having a heart attack reading that. It was just so long.
That was fantastic.
Fucking hell, why do we ever let me host? Hi, how are you both? Welcome back.
Wow,
Hello.
what an intro. Hello. Love it. Unhinged energy. Let's go.
Oh,
Right?
let's go. Yeah, as maybe I left in the cold open, maybe I didn't. I downed a Vimto energy drink about 2 hours ago, and I'm still riding that high. I might not crash. I might not go to bed tonight. Let's see. We'll find out.
Keep us informed.
Yeah. Fuck, I even know where to go from here. Like I don't know.
Any other business?
Any
other banter?
any business?
Enter banter here. Oh, what is it when on Jim Carrey scripts they would just put like Jim Carrey does his thing, or was that Robin Williams? They would literally do that on their scripts.
Oh, did
feel
they?
like
I didn't
actors,
know that.
they
Well,
would just be.
either.
It would literally just be like Robin Williams pops off here, and then he would just rant about something.
Oh, I love that.
It was either him or Jim Carrey. It might be Robin Williams, but like they would
You can
literally
imagine
just
it being both of them.
be
To
like,
be
yeah,
fair.
just like they do whatever shit they want here. Just like go for it. That's us. That's us.
I think a lot about how the only sequels Jim Carrey, someone who notoriously said he'd never do sequels, has ever done is the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. I'd love to know what it is about Sonic that makes that man want to keep coming back. Maybe it's just money, to be fair.
Yeah, because what the fuck? I've been waiting for a Mr. Popper's Penguin sequel for like 10 years now.
Fuck off with that.
What?
Wait, where did that come from? Mr. Popper's Penguin.
God.
No, he was in that, right? It was.
Yeah, he was. I felt like you attacked me there. I felt like that physically hit me. I haven't thought about that movie.
Ghost Punch.
When did that come out? 2011.
Oh,
What?
God. I got it from the recesses of the darkest pits of my brain. It arose.
What is that movie about?
I don't think I've ever
I've
heard
never
of this
seen
film. Plot twist.
Incredible. When Tom Popper's father dies in Antarctica, he inherits 6 penguins.
Oh.
What? Tom initially decides to give them away, but his children think they are a birthday present and he's forced to keep them. Well, that sounds like a situation in which comedy may be derived.
On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 47%.
Higher than I expected.
I know, right? Same, actually, to be fair. The site's critical consensus reads blandly inoffensive and thoroughly predictable.
Oh, I
Alright,
might watch Mr. Popper's Penguins. That might be something I do this week.
That's
I
the
reckon-
Vimto talking. Liam, don't listen to it.
It'd be a riot. It'd be an absolute riot.
Oh, dear. Everyone bring a film. When we meet up in person, everyone bring a film.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm bringing the Ace Attorney movie. So
Right.
whoever wants to absolutely bring the mood down after that can bring Mr. Popper's Penguin.
If Rachel brings Mr. Popper's Penguins, maybe I'll bring Help, I'm a Fish. You remember that one?
Help, I'm a fish in the deep blue sea. Won't somebody help me? Yeah?
Oh, good
Relax.
lord, that is like
Yes.
a deeply buried memory.
Christina moment. Had my Christina moment. That film
Right.
slaps. Do you remember the end? What happens to the baddie at the end? It's fucking
No.
grim.
What happens to the baddie
Oh
at
my
the
god,
end?
very quickly. This film is about
No,
some
take your
teenagers
time.
who like take a potion and they turn into fish. Well, I
Yeah.
think at the end it gets reversed. So the evil guy takes a serum in which turns it back to human, but he goes all gross and like weird. It's like in between human and fish, and it's assumed because you can't see deaths on screen that he becomes human and drowns underwater.
I remember that. I'm looking at pictures of it now.
Yeah,
That's
girl.
fucked.
Yeah, girl.
It has
Fucked.
like that animation style that I used to find really quite sinister as a kid. It was
Oh,
the
yeah.
same as All Dogs Go to Heaven as well. Maybe it's the same people. But
Yeah, where it's just a bit too. The characters don't look cartoony; they look a bit real. I feel like the facial
Yeah.
expressions in particular.
And it's like not colourful enough, I guess.
No, yeah.
Oh, what a film. I almost said what a fish. What a fish.
What a fish!
Help.
Yeah, I think I saw that film once, and I was like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, done.
I've been scarred further by children's films. That one was like, yeah, okay, 4 out of 10 for scarred value. Secret of Nim is a 10.
I've never seen Secret of Nim. What's Secret of
The
Nim?
rat testing one? Girl, that fucked me up. Mrs. Frisbee or Bisbee or some Bisbee. Mrs. Bisbee
Oh,
and then
you're
it's
right.
like,
That is like the same art style.
yeah, she finds
Oh,
this
geez.
lab. It's like a huge story, but she finds this laboratory, and it's like all these rats have been like tested on by humans, and now they have like sentience. But there's literally a horrific bit at the end, which I won't say because it literally traumatized me. But like, if you know, you fucking know. And the owl's fucked up as well. That's a 10 for me.
That definitely sounds like the most fucked up thing you can watch as a kid. That isn't like a movie for adults.
I never saw it, but apparently Watership Down was really fucked up.
Oh, God.
That broke me as a kid.
Nah, yeah. Ugh.
Like, yeah, so much
good.
death. Simply too much death.
The bit where all the rabbits are like trying to force themselves into the warrens.
Yeah,
Oh.
awful.
Wow, this took a turn from Mr. Poplar's Penguins.
Mr.
We come far.
Right. Yeah, I'm quite impressed, right? We've done 30 episodes and you have gone on record a few times, Rachel, of saying that you're never going to sing on the podcast. You've only ever sung twice. The first was when you sung the theme to Okie Doke, and that was under duress. Like, self-inflicted duress, but you talked yourself into it. But Help, I'm a Fish brought out that inner, like, rock star in you. Not even hesitation. It was like the lights dimmed and the spotlight went on, and introducing Rachel Watts with Help, I'm a Fish.
Oh, it's so true.
I'm so sorry if anyone was like
Showstopper
offended by the screeching that just occurred in your earbuds. But you know what? It's a really good song. Like, it's a banger
great
of a song. Yeah.
Yeah. I can relate. I too am a little yellow fish in the deep blue sea.
Yeah.
And won't somebody help me?
Yeah.
It's a great song.
I don't know who sang it, but she ate. Like, she actually.
Let's find out. Help, I'm what's this podcast about? Theme song.
I mean, it's really taken quite a wild swing from,
Yeah.
you know, like,
It's by the Danish teen pop group Little Trees.
Okay.
it's a shame
Well,
because
apparently that was their only banger.
we could get like we could do a hard pivot to kids movie podcast were it not for the opening section where we talked about dicks for so long.
So long.
Yeah.
It's quite a long time. Yeah.
Quite a long time.
They released two songs. They released Help, I'm a Fish, parentheses Little Yellow Fish,
Aw.
in 2001.
Aw.
It reached 11 in the UK singles chart.
Fuck yeah.
And then a
What?
year later, they released Turn Around, which did not chart. And then they never did anything ever again.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Good for them.
God.
I assume they're listeners to the show. Friends of the podcast, Danish pop group Little Trees.
Do you know what else? Like, I feel like kids' movies and TVs had some absolute bops. Like, I went to Wales with my friend recently. We were like just chucking a bunch of stuff on Spotify. We chucked the Kim Possible intro music, and that is an absolute banger. That is so good. Like, that song. Oh, Call Me, Beat Me if you want to
So
reach
good.
me. Oh, so
I
good.
love that line because it ages it so badly. Like, even though she has loads of futuristic
Yeah.
tech, the fact that it says beep me is just so funny.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
what
a great
show.
one.
Such a
I
good
mean, obviously
opening.
the Arthur themed song was always really good.
Oh god, this is taking me everything in my fibre not to sing these songs.
Do it.
No.
Go and do it.
No, only once an episode. It's too much. I think I'm
Too
already feeling a
powerful.
bit my vocal cords.
Are you really? We're only 20 minutes in. We got like another 2 hours of this.
The thing is, do you know what it is about me? When I sing, I have to go 100. I can't mumble when I sing.
Oh my
Like
God.
there's no in between. Like, I have to go for it.
I'm sorry. It's just I didn't expect you to have anything in common with Eric Cartman, but here we are.
I was going to say, what about that mumble rap contest I've entered us in to save the local theatre?
Girl, we can't win it. Literally, and I can spit.
we can
I
if we
I can
believe.
spit a rhyme.
If I
Look, I have to
speak
go.
the opening line to Come Sail Away With Me, do you have to sing the whole song really fast?
Oh, God. No, it's fine. I can resist. 1000X resist. Let's talk about games.
Is that a segue? Is that a
There we
segue? Okay,
go.
let's
Is
move
that-
on.
Well, no,
Is that a
because that's
segue?
later. So once
Oh,
again,
fuck it. What's the first game we're talking about? Animal Well. Animal Well, let's move on. There, that'll do.
Okay, love it. Do we want to talk about the day and our
Yes, we
reactions
should.
to?
Yeah. We should
Yeah,
start
I
on
think
that.
maybe we should talk about the indie apocalypse.
A lot of games have come out recently, like so many, and like I said in the intro, I do genuinely think the last few weeks are going to go down in... Who's calling me?
Hello?
Kidding me?
It's
Hello?
me.
Oh, it's the AAA
Hello?
industry.
I was watching the same day, like, tis
Who was
I'm
it?
afraid it was my father.
Put him on.
Put my dad on the podcast. He'd be like, you do a podcast. The last few weeks have been absolutely incredible for indies. There's been so many amazing games that have come out, but May 9th was just deranged, the amount of games that came out. Rebecca wrote down a comprehensive list of all the games that came out. So on May 9th alone, we had 1000X Resist, Animal Well, Broccula, which is the Vampire
Stardew Valley.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you writing about that. Crow Country, Cryptmaster, Little Kitty Big City, Rabbit and Steel, which I hadn't heard of, but it currently has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, and Vampire Survivors Operation Guns DLC, which is the Konami collaboration, which is Contra themed. Very funny. It's not Castlevania themed. I really love that. But that is just like, most of those games have gone down as critically acclaimed, and I'd say like maybe half of those are considered to be like the best games of the year so far. And they all came out on May 9th. Like, what is going on there?
No idea.
I still think that people are trying to miss Shadow of Erdtree by a wide margin. Like, if you want to get your short indie game out and make sure people have had like 6 weeks to play it before Shadow of Erdtree, where everyone drops everything. Unfortunately, for all those lovely indie devs, Hades 2 shadow dropped into early access about 3 days earlier. So it slightly didn't go to plan, I expect, in that sense. But, you know, Not everyone's played Shadow of Erdtree. I think I finally wiggled my way out of it today, so that's good.
That's actually amazing. Well done.
I did a swap with someone at work, so I was like, I'll take Zenless Zone 0, and you take Shadow of Erdtree, and it was like a very, you know,
transactional. I like
transaction. Yeah, but you know, hopefully, fingers crossed, everyone's happy with the outcome. So yeah, that gives us more time to look at all of these absolute bangers. I do feel sort of bad for Broccula, which is not a game I'm going to be talking about a lot today because I haven't played the full release. I played the demo at Steam Next Fest maybe 2 years ago and wrote about it for RPS at the time, and it's good fun. It's not doing as well, and yeah, but it's a very cute game. Like Vampire Stardew Valley, it can't go that wrong.
Yeah,
I still, from what I've played, I do recommend it, but I just, maybe Vampire Stardew Valley is a bit of a hard sell.
Fair.
Especially because Stardew is in like, you know, it's having its renaissance right now.
Yeah, I guess they probably couldn't have predicted the 1.6 release just dropping out of nowhere either, right?
Yeah, so, exactly. And obviously, for saying that I played like a pretty complete demo build 2 years ago, like my goodness, you want to get your game out at some point, don't you? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
I mean, do you reckon they chose May 9th not realising what else was dropping on May 9th?
I have literally no idea. Yeah,
I wonder how many of them were aware that they were all launching on the same day. Because you imagine you lock in those dates before you announce them publicly, right?
I would. I mean, I don't know. I've never developed a game in that sort of like independent sense, but like you'd think it's got to be pretty much you and your publisher, if you have a publisher, probably come to an agreement on it.
It isn't uncommon for a bunch of indies to release on the same day. Like in the last couple of years, like it just so happens coincidentally that games will release on the same day because either something big's coming out, or it's like they want to beat an event or whatever. But the thing with this one is, it's just how many came out this day. And it's just, I feel like there was something in that. I don't know what it was. So it's not unusual, but it's just simply how many.
And eight is unusual. Yeah,
8
like
is
2,
wild.
3, not unusual at all. 8.
Maybe like 4. Yeah, but 8 is... And the thing about this like day as well is not that just like how many there are, but the quality of these games is just ridiculous. Like Liam said, it was like the 3 I'm going to mention are like my game of the year potentials. Like it's ridiculous, and that was cutting some of the others we're talking about today. So it's just been wild in terms of not just the quantity, but the quality of games is like. And of course, it's great, but also very stressful if you're really into indie games and like keeping abreast of all these new releases, and suddenly you're inundated with 8 really good indie games. Like, God.
So you're more locked in, I would say, to indies than I think me and Rebecca are. in terms of like day jobs and things like that. I mean, definitely
Indeed.
me, I work at Greg's. But how has it been? Has it felt like you've been more inundated? And have you also still been able to see the quality despite how much? I mean, you've played so much recently. Like, how has that been, sort of having this just massive quality rushing towards you?
It's honestly been so overwhelming because normally where our attention would be on each indie evenly spaced apart, or even 2 or 3 backed up, to have 8, you have to start cutting good games. So like all this talk about Animal Well and Crow Country, some of the ones that have gotten a bit more traction. But like as we getting into some of the other games like Cryptmaster, they are just going to go under the radar because you have to start cutting stuff because you literally can't. Even as a freelancer, it was like a feeding frenzy of editors being like, we need these games covered, we need these games covered. In terms of like budget as well, you can't like hire as many people. You need to be more picky. And like, with all review outlets and every outlet's like time is of the essence. Like if something is a week off, normally it loses all sorts of, like there's no point covering it because people have moved on. So it wasn't, that's the other thing about it as well. It's like, it's not just all these games released and it's great. It's like they all were like, because it wasn't even just that day. May in general, like has been wild. Like Another Crab's Treasure and Lorelei and like Rebecca said Hades 2, like all these like really good games all came out in May or like towards the end of April. So it's just been a wild 3-4 weeks. And getting people's attentions. I know I've had people in my inbox being like, hey, like our game's out, and I just haven't I just can't don't have the time to cover them. It's really sad. It's like, it's a lot. And I imagine they feel that as well. As a PR, you're just like, crap, we need to like stick out from the crowd somehow. Like, can't imagine what that's like.
It must be so, like, especially when you're saying like some of these games are potentially Game of the Year candidates, but you are having to cut them. I mean, I'm saying like, we don't have to do that even on this podcast. Like, this podcast has quite a narrow focus, really, compared to other gaming podcasts. And we're still having to cut games that I like, I know I'll love, but I mean, I guess I'll get to them later in the year. We have the benefit of we bring things up from, previous years and stuff. We get around to things eventually, but yeah, it's wild. Do you think this pace is going to be sustained for the rest of the year?
No, it can't. There's no way. I don't think so. I hope not.
Yeah, my gut reaction was also, and I hope not.
Yeah.
I find that it's been a weird one for like, there's just not a lot of firm release dates this year. And that's probably because you get things that shadow drop, and obviously we're not even halfway through the year yet, so there's going to be more stuff that just isn't announced for a date yet. But yeah, it's been a weird one in that stuff's getting a release date and that's quite close to the time it's actually coming out. Which obviously is a complicating factor for a number of reasons, especially when you're trying to cover things and like plan ahead, because at the moment, like, I've got one thing on my calendar for June, one for July, and then nothing until like, I mean, obviously because I cover AAA's a lot of work as well, like Assassin's Creed in November. But yeah, I mean, I do hope to see there's a lot of things with like a Q2 or a Q3 that I've kind of got on the radar, but still it's like, I do feel that it's been a top heavy year, and I do wonder if it's things like trying to avoid things like Shadow of the Erd Tree, which obviously is like massively anticipated. I mean, like, I don't know, this is not in any way an objective measure, obviously, but I've got a list on my computer of 58 games that I'm aware of that have either released this year or have a tentative, at least vague plan to release this year that I'm interested in, and 27 of them are already out. 2 more are coming out tomorrow. So that's like, if you think about it, we're not halfway through the year, and like from the games that I'm sort of aware of potentially to cover professionally or for, like either in my day job or for this podcast, like over half of them are already out.
Wow.
So we still got half to go.
Yeah. But,
what's out tomorrow?
So less within the remit of this podcast, but Hellblade 2 is out tomorrow. I guess that was indie, but then they got bought by Microsoft. And also the System Shock remake is coming to consoles tomorrow, which is another one that
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It's on my radar for, reasons of interest, because I didn't manage to get around to it when it came on PC. But yeah, it's kind of quiet comparatively when I see how many May 9th like the list that is just May 9th on this calendar.
Yeah.
And then, so much
It's
quieter.
absolutely wild.
Between
And then
July and
Hades
November,
dropping.
there's no dates, you know?
Imagine being any part of these like PRs and Hades fucking shadow dropping.
It was 3 days before. I thought I was exaggerating, but I was correct. It was
it was the Monday, right? It was the
Oh my
Monday.
Yeah, it was the Monday.
Goodness.
Yeah. Imagine that. That is because one of them. Which one? Surmount moved their release a week before because they Surmount the climbing game, which unfortunately we're not talking about this podcast because I've not had time to play it. That was due May 9th and they released a week before. Instead, they moved it. So they got ahead. I'm not sure whether that's because they wanted to avoid Indiepocalypse or whether they were ready to go, so they just went for it. I think it's Surmount. I can't imagine the internal conversations of like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a roguelike. Like, oh my God. Anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, it's true that there's a huge variety, though, in those 8 games. Like, I don't think... It would be it would almost make more sense, but be less satisfying if they were all like very similar, because you'd be like, oh, like I guess there's like a plan to kind of like promote each other through, but no, it's like there's wildly different genres on display there. Like,
the only other reason I can think that they might all do the same date is that Silk Song's coming up.
That's a good point.
So
Silk Song.
I was just about to say this. Aggro Crab, who made another Crab's Treasure, they did a meme on Twitter where there were a tiny boat going between two massive boats. One was Silk Song and one was Hades 2.
Yeah.
As a joke, this was before we knew Hades 2 was launching, but I mean, they weren't wrong.
Yeah.
And imagine if Hades 2 and Silk Song had released within like breathing distance of each other. Can you even imagine? Like, fair play to Team Cherry. They might just be sitting on that now, and they might have the benefit of doing that like until the end of the year.
Christ, because it's like every Nintendo Indie Direct, they're just like Twitter is absolutely just like popping off about
losing their mind.
Fucking Team Cherry and Silk Song. So it'll be interesting when they do announce that. Do we think it's going to be this year?
I mean, how long has it been the talking point at every like indie showcase though? Like 5 years?
Yeah.
Maybe. Was it announced as DLC for Hollow Knight?
Yeah,
yes, it was DLC.
I remind myself of that.
Then they were like, nope. It's gonna be it's gonna be its own game.
It's
which
gotten
is
away from us.
fucking good. But also,
Yeah.
it was that, wasn't it? It was like we put so much into this DLC, it's gonna be its own fucking game. So
Wow.
Yeah.
That is wild. I don't know. I honestly have no idea, because was it like 2 years ago Microsoft put it in their E3 thing and said, oh, every game you've seen will be out in the next 12 months?
Oh yeah.
And I think Silk Song was the only one that missed that date.
Wow.
And I think that game will come out when it comes out. I think it might just drop. I think they probably have the benefit of just dropping it.
Yeah.
And that's going to be
100%.
absolutely wild.
What a thought.
Yeah. They're just waiting for me to finish Hollow Knight.
Get on that,
Very
babes.
kind of them. I'm the problem. Sorry, everyone. Right, well, I think we should actually start bloody talking about some of these games.
Well.
This that's better than the one I did.
That was very good.
Yes. Speaking of, Rachel, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, so my first pick is Animal Well. Because you know what? It doesn't have much music. So, oh shit, that's a problem. I don't know if it has much music. I don't know what you're going to put here.
Does it have
There must be trailer music.
I'll make up a little song about Billy Basso. Billy Basso, he made a nice game.
Billy Basso, he's got his lasso around my neck.
I think that might be slander.
Yeah, so Animal Well. Right, where the fuck do I start with this game? So I want to start off by saying my 3 games. Maybe I've mentioned it a bit earlier, but I played 3 games in a row, and each one of them is definitely in my top 3, even top 5 game of the year list for sure. Animal Well is definitely one of them. Me personally, I had quite a lot of anticipation for Animal Well. Me and Liam played a preview of it at PAX, and it was just our favorite game of the show. We just got really good vibes from it. Billy Basso, the solo dev, is like really lovely to speak to and had a clear vision. That's what struck with me about him. He had a very clear vision about what he wanted from Animal Well. And honestly, this game is like, one of the best Metroidvanias of the year, considering that like there are a lot of other really good Metroidvanias coming out this year. Ultros being one, which was really good. But Animal Well is a Metroidvania where you play as a blob who is a little blob with cute eyes, who is like birthed into this kind of like subterranean underground world. And essentially you are navigating your way through this space, which is filled with like these like dangerous creatures and puzzle rooms that you have to solve, and not just animals as well. There's like spirits and ghosts and shrines and altars. Like this space has a real weird spiritualness about it. One thing which it gets totally right as a Metroidvania is like you are just curious, and you just, on your own curiosity alone, you just want to explore the space. And from there, you just explore the world and solve these puzzle rooms, which normally take a lot of like logical puzzle thinking. There's boss fights, but there's no combats. They're all puzzle based. So you're fending off against like giant cats who are like phantoms, and ostriches, which is like really gross long necks, and all these really weird kind of like slight twist on like what you think the animal is, and it's always like weirdly surprising, like. And so, that's essentially what the game is. You're like exploring the environment, and there's like puzzles to solve, hints and riddles, and all sorts of good puzzle goodness. So then you hit the credits. Great. And you know what? If that's all you want from the game, then I would recommend it on that alone as a really engaging Metroidvania. Where Animal Well absolutely blows out of the water is that if you are the kind of person who wants more secrets, more puzzles to solve, like more in-depth riddles and hidden areas, like this game is like wild for that kind of puzzle gameplay. It like harkens back to like really old games where there's like hidden rooms and like the code, and there's just other aspects of it. Like during the Day of the Devs showcase, like Billy, when he did his video showcasing Animal Well, he had something on his like desktop screen which people noticed. And then apparently it was like a Picross password that people solved. And then there was a cipher that they found online to kind of solve it. And then essentially if you like solved this clue, this puzzle, this weird like Easter egg hunt of like weird clues, you would get an early key, a key to the game when it released. What? And so if that's like one aspect to even just like a preview trailer, this game goes so much further than anything else I've played, like in terms of another credit sequence, more hidden areas, Morse code, ciphers, musical notes, different symbols. Like there's just so much more to this Metroidvania than I was anticipating, and I think that's really cool because I don't know, you can get as much as you want out of the game. There's, a game in terms of like start to end, the first credit sequence, you're good to go. But if you want something more, if you're looking for that extra bit of like hyperfixation to get into, this game will definitely do that for you. And I think part of that is because it has this weird balance of both being very logical, but also tapping into like the creative side of your brain, where you're given a bunch of objects and you really have to experiment with them and try and push them to their limits and work out how to navigate a space and its puzzles by using these objects in very specific and interesting ways. And like, there's just so much depth to like this game. And God, it took me everything in my power not to put that pun throughout my review of it, which you can read over on Thinky Games if you'd like to read something a bit more in depth.
You can.
And my madness that I went through playing it. But I just, from a solo dev, that's just impressive anyway. But the amount of thought and consideration that has gone into this game is really impressive, just inspiring masterclass in terms of like making a very engaging puzzle game with a world that just invokes just pure curiosity within you. Yeah, I was really impressed. And this is, definitely in my top. I'm going to say 5, maybe not above my other 2, but this is definitely up there in terms of like what I got out of the game and how I feel about it. So yeah, Anima Well, if you're that kind of personality who's really into puzzles and loves deciphering codes and shit, then this is the first of 2 games that I'll be talking about where this is for you. But yeah, absolutely recommend it.
I have heard so much about that, like, layer on top of the Metroidvania. And people mentioning things like each game client has different puzzles within them. So it's trying to encourage community play because you physically can't find all of the secrets like by yourself.
Yeah.
Which is just incredible, really.
It's wild. Yeah, Billy says there's 4 levels to this game. The first is just you solving the puzzles on your own and just playing through the game once. The second is playing you on your own, playing the game multiple times and finding all the secrets that way. The third is community-based. You will need other people to solve it. The last one is time. It will take years, literal years, to solve some of the puzzles in this game. So there's 4 layers. Yeah.
It's incredible to see a game that has the lineage of Fez.
Yes.
It feels like Fez did that really well.
The Black Obelisks.
Tunic. Yes. And it's just really great to see like absolute sickos just going ham on this like idea. And yeah, good on lovely Billy Basso. I'm so happy it's successful. You know, he's clearly worked so hard on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Big Mode really struck out with this game. Like there was a lot of pressure on Big Mode with all the fucking shit that Dunkey had been spouting about indie games. Sorry, not sorry. But like, it was like, you can keep that in as well. But it was very much like he talked a big game. He was like, this is the indie landscape. This is the gaming landscape. My game won't be like that. And it's just so happened that he found, or maybe Billy approached him, Anima Well is just absolutely one of the best games of 2024, like in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, like good on Big Mode, good on Billy. Like I'm sure that was a great partnership. But yeah, so well done, Video Game Dunkey. Congrats. I'm sorry, but I'm not forgiving him for what he said about Frog Detective or whatever. I don't know. I'm still annoyed about that.
No, he spoke
still
shit
pressed about
Frog
it.
Detective, didn't he? And
So
that's
yeah,
why
anyway.
when we're in a hotel lobby, he just stood awkwardly next to us while we spoke to other people.
I literally just faced Billy and didn't acknowledge him on purpose. I was just like,
God bless you, Donko.
Lee was very, very nice though. Lovely person. But yeah.
Really, really good. Yeah, nice person.
But anyway, yeah, Anima Well.
Awesome.
If that sounds like your
Excellent.
shit, good luck. And I'll see you in, let me know how you get on in like a year or how many ever years it takes
I was
to
going to
solve.
say, there's a certain friend of the podcast who's already pretty sold on Animal Well, and I think based on that recommendation, I just need to go buy him a new notebook and
Ooh, yeah, I probably do need a whole notebook for it from what I've heard. So that's a nice duology of presents, perhaps.
Oh, yeah. Why'd you have to go and get born in March? It's ages till I get to buy another present. Sorry, that's just me directly addressing my partner who'll hear this in
talking to your partner on
a
the
week and a half. Because sometimes I just like to freak him out by making the podcast talk directly to him, you know? It's like,
Hello, Mick. Hello.
hey.
Hi, Mick.
Buy milk on your way home. He listens in the car on the way to and from work. So let's just get that in there, like, you know.
Comes buy 4 bottles of milk on the way home, Mick. Do it for the bit. Do it for the bit. So Rebecca's like, why do you have 4 bottles of milk? And then you can find it funny. And I'll also have forgotten, but do it, Mick.
It would work so well if I couldn't hear this right now.
Oh, yeah.
Rebecca, cover your ears. Mick, I'm talking to you, Mick.
Earmuffs, but they're on over my earbuds, so I can still hear perfectly everything.
If anything, you can hear me more.
Yeah. Just press them right in. I've really got a very good, Anyway.
Who's next?
Very silly aside.
Rebecca, can you go next?
Speaking of silly asides, there we go. Segue.
Ooh,
Did it. Nailed it.
Very good.
Lately, I've been playing Little Kitty Big City. which is a game that I've been excited for years and years, and I've put it on my most anticipated games of the year list, I think 3 years in a row, and it's finally actually come out, and I'm delighted. And I want to say I've been playing it lately. I mean, I've been really busy, so I didn't really get around to anything from Indiepocalypse Day until yesterday when I knew we were recording this podcast, and so I'm busy. I'm in the middle of a house move. I've got stuff going on in my day job, and so I was just like, I'm just gonna play half an hour of Little Kitty Big City just to say that I've played something from Indiepocalypse Day for the podcast. I played until my Steam Deck battery ran out. I lost so much time. And yeah, needless to say, I'm really enjoying this game, obviously. I mean, like, it's one of those where I would have been more surprised if I hadn't, because it's been kind of doing the rounds for long enough that you kind of knew what you were getting into in advance, really. I've never played a demo for it, but I've seen a lot of trailers. But it is just like, it delivers on its promise to be extremely delightful. It's got big Untitled Goose Game energy, which is kind of what a lot of the, you know, the early comparisons and previews and stuff were about. The art style is a lot more like 3D and cartoonish. It's a little bit less, you know, completely distinctive than Untitled Goose Game in terms of art style, but it's still very, very distinctive and very charming. And yeah, the thing that kind of I found is that it sits perfectly at the intersection of 4 games that I love that I would not have expected to go in combination. So the pitch for this one for me would be, everyone knows it's quite Untitled Goose Game in that you're a cute, slightly anthropomorphized, but still very animal-esque animal kind of causing havoc in this, like, you know, human society. The other comparisons that I draw, though, where it's quite reminiscent of A Short Hike, which is another like indie, like animal focused indie that I love, in the way that you're like collecting things, in the way that your quests are sort of like delivered to you as you progress through this environment, in the sort of length of the game, because it's not a super long game. It's about, I think, about 5 hours, 10 hours if you really sort of like drag it out, about 5 hours. I think I'm 2 and a bit hours in, and I'd say I reasonably feel like halfway through the full thing, including all the side quests, so that kind of scans. The other two games that it's really reminded me of, and you're going to need to bear with me, but I promise this is relevant, my 2 favourite games of 2022 were, without irony, Stray and Ghostwire Tokyo. And it kind of is perfectly picking up the threads of both of those as well, because obviously on the Stray side, you've got the cat. There's even, at the start of the game, because the premise of this game is that it's this indoor cat that lives in a fairly tall apartment building in a Japanese city, like is snoozing on a ledge one day, and kind of a series of humorous misadventures cause it to fall safely by stages from the ledge down into the street, and then this cat's kind of got to figure its way back up into its home. That's the whole idea of the game. But the animation for the start of the fall is the exact bit from Stray, and I'm like, I wonder if they like redid that a little bit as a bit of a nod.
Interesting.
Just because it's so visually reminiscent. And I know obviously like, there's only so much point of reference for a cat falling off a thing and trying to like reattach itself, but like, you know, I did wonder, because obviously they're the two sort of famous you play as a cat games that have been doing the rounds in the same kind of area. I wonder if it was a bit of a nod. And the other one, Ghostwire Tokyo, I know it sounds like a goof, but literally in both of them, you're exploring a Japanese city kind of in a very chill way, and it's just so pleasant. And I went back to Ghostwire recently because I'm still trying to 100% it, especially given the sad news that Tango Gameworks have been absolutely destroyed by Microsoft. And yeah, it's just like they do kind of echo each other perfectly, like very complementary games, totally polar opposite ways of dealing with the same basic idea, which I found delightful. And yeah, I'm really, obviously really enjoying it. I probably will finish it in another session. It's the humor is really on point. You can choose usually from 2 dialogue options whenever you're talking to another animal, one of which is like very sarcastic and one of which is like, I'm a cat and I don't understand anything. I tend to go with that I'm a cat and I don't understand anything options. But yeah, it's probably not, you know, it's reviewing well. It is reviewing like very positively. I think what a lot of people are saying is that it may not like stick with people. I kind of see what they're saying in that obviously the comparisons I've just made, it's not doing anything like mind-blowingly original. I think that, you know, Untitled Goose Game kind of got there first on the whole mischievous animal puzzle exploration adventure game. Nevertheless, I can't really fault anything it's doing other than not doing anything like completely groundbreaking. It's a really delightful time. Obviously, as I say, I sat down meaning to play 20 minutes, half an hour, and I played for, I don't quite know. I don't want to think about how long I played for because I have other stuff to do. Yeah, it is really good. It's like so cheerful as well. Like it's, you know, a lot of the stuff that I like is really like intense and navel-gazy, and sometimes it's nice to just have a puzzle game that is, even though the cat is lost, it's not like distressed. So even from that point of view, it's like quite a pleasant time. Just going around being a cat in Japan. It's a good time. It's such a good time. It's a comforting time as well, is what I would say. In fact, I think that's a bit of a theme with the games that I'm talking about today, and like the games that I've enjoyed so far this year more generally, is I feel that 2023, most of the games that I played were either like fresh IPs or things like, you know, with Baldur's Gate, which had a very long break. And I think 2023 was a year of like so many of these like brilliant new ideas coming out, whereas 2024 for me so far has been really like characterized by going back, whether that's in like a remaster, because I've been playing loads of really good remasters that have come out this year, or in like sequels, or in, you know, things like this that obviously really echo a favorite from a few years ago. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that, you know, video games as a medium lend themselves a lot to this kind of like reinterpretation and like conversations with older titles. And if you rinsed Untitled Goose Game and were left wanting something as high quality, just as good fun, absolutely check out Little Kitty Big City. It's really sweet.
Yeah, it's super charming, and I feel like if you have a cat, like with Stray,
oh my goodness, yes,
the cat antics are very accurate
they
to
are.
like having a cat.
Interesting.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to playing it. The cat in this looks a lot like the 2 cats you've recently adopted.
Yes,
I had thought that
Yes.
actually. Yeah. The black cat.
I was like, oh my god. Yeah, I adopted 2 black cats recently, and they do look like the cat in
They really do.
And I love how the cat
so
in
adorable.
Little Kitty Big City has the cute little X on its butt. So
Yeah.
like, not like a butthole. Sorry,
Not like a
but
like a
because you know sometimes the X is like a butthole,
Yeah,
but this
no,
is
I
like
know-
a cute
yeah.
little marker. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really cute.
Yeah,
Very
it's
sweet
adorable.
game. And oh my god, the hats.
The hats.
The hats are so cute. The ladybird hat is one of my favorites.
I've got
I
the
think
blue
that's mine.
butterfly at the moment. I've got the blue butterfly. So
Very
sweet.
cute, because my cats will never. I can tell already. My cats will never wear anything. That's
I've
like
only
a
known
cute
them
little
for a
hat.
couple of weeks, but I know.
I can sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
so cute. That's such a good
creatures of the night.
recommendation. The coziest one, I reckon, on the list.
Oh,
I think it definitely is.
Charming, cozy game.
It's going to go someplace. My other ones are not as cozy.
Can't
Yeah, me
wait till you
neither.
talk about the other ones. The point you made there, though, at the end about reinterpretation and repetition, a relevant point for the last game we'll talk about today. So I think you should bear that in mind. I think we could have that same conversation again.
Indeed.
Cool. Yeah, I can't wait to play that. As a cat owner, I love games about cats. Didn't love Stray. We've gone over this before.
You didn't.
Yeah, this looks like it maybe solves the one issue I had with that game, which is that you sort of stopped being a cat about halfway through that game and started just being someone who does quests. But this game looks like maybe
weaponized.
Well, there's quests. There's quests aplenty, but I feel like you solve them in very cat-like ways.
Yeah.
I'd be
Yes,
interested
which
to hear, actually,
sounds good.
when you do play, I'd be interested to hear what you think about the one very uncat-like thing that happens. Be interested to
Okay.
I don't know if you can really give spoilers for this game. It's the way the fast travel system is introduced is just hard sci-fi. And everything else is like fairly realistic.
I will report back. That sounds fun, though.
It is fun. It is done in such an outlandish way that it's
Nice.
It's very fun.
Great writing.
Cool. Yeah. Really happy that it's out. Again,
So delighted.
2 bangers. Shall I move on to a third banger? So
Yeah.
my first
Yes.
game is Cryptmaster. So Cryptmaster is by two developers, Paul Hart and Lee Williams. This is a dungeon crawler in the classic sense, where you are presented with a first-person perspective and you move forward one step at a time through these maze-like dungeons. In the game, you play as 4 zombie adventurers who were brought back to life by the Cryptmaster, who is this sort of like enigmatic skeletal figure who talks to you throughout the game. But the fun gimmick of this game is that combat and interaction with the world is all performed by typing words into the game using your keyboard. That might sound a little bit like Zork or sort of old text adventure games. It's not. It's actually more similar to something like the Typing of the Dead, where words will appear on screen and you'll type them in. That's sort of like one layer of it. But what really makes this game so special and so interesting is that you have access to everything the game has to offer, but you have to figure out the right combination of words to put in to unlock things like skills for your characters. And the way that the game does this is almost like honestly, it reminds me a bit of Wheel of Fortune in the way that you do this. So what happens is you can't talk because you're zombies, but the Cryptmaster talks to you. So you might find a chest, and instead of opening the chest and, getting a sword or a new ability, the Cryptmaster will look inside the chest and says, oh, this is like a square thing with like leather on it. And then you can ask the Cryptmaster 4 questions. You can say, look, smell, taste, remember. And the Cryptmaster will give you a little bit more information. So it might be like, yeah, I remember having loads of these in my library at home when I was alive. And you're like, oh, book. So you type book in. He's like, oh, yeah, that's it. It's a book. And then you get letters from book that go into your characters. And then these build up keywords like jab or hit or... what's the healer has a really funny word, jostle, and soothe. And every time you type jostle in, he goes, jostle. Makes me laugh every time. So you have access to all of these. I believe if you just type in any of their abilities at first, you might be able to guess these abilities and unlock them early. I'm not sure. But it's such an interesting way of gaining abilities. And then when you're in combat encounters, you just have to type all of these out as quickly as you can onto the keyboard to launch these attacks. And your characters have cooldowns, and it's just a really, really interesting way of building a unlock and combat system. This all brings me to, I think, the best part of this game is that it's really self-aware and it's really, really funny. Because you can type anything in, the Cryptmaster will react to it. If you type kiss, the Cryptmaster will be like, I don't think we should be doing that right now. If you keep typing the same word in again, he'd be like, why are you just repeating yourself? What are you on about? There's also a bunch of like characters that you can meet. I'm not very far through this. I'm in the 2nd level. It's a village of rats. All the rats are sort of like fantastic Mr. Fox-like is all I can describe them as. They have swirling eyes and fun British accents. And they'll be like, oh, my son is missing in the swamp. He goes by the name Ratty, so you have to remember Ratty. So then you can type Ratty in when the son says, well, what's my name? And there's a rat in a cage who can offer you hints, but you have to ask the right questions. And it's as much a word game and a game that appreciates the power of words and the fun of word games as it is just like a comedy game with a cool mechanic at its core. It looks amazing. It's all this like hand-drawn style. It's black and white and pencil scratchings, but it has a great sense of depth to it. It's really, really good. And one thing I think I was quite surprised by is I thought this was a roguelike. I don't know why.
Did you?
I guess I did. I don't know whether just a lot of games like this, they just sort of are roguelikes. But it's not. It's an RPG. It has levels. It has areas. You can save. The save system involves going to an altar that's in service of a goddess, and you have to defile the altar to be able to then save.
Yeah.
We had a very funny interaction in the Discord earlier while talking about it.
Bring this up, I was going to make you talk about it because I have not played this game yet, but I really want to check it out. But this was my introduction to this, to the way this game works.
Would you like to explain what what you came back to?
I almost feel like it's more powerful if I just repeat verbatim what I read on when I looked at my messages after I looked away for a bit. Whereas, oh my god, we talk too much. Look at all this. We've got so much scrolling to do.
It was only earlier today.
Yeah.
I know, right?
It was like 4 p.m. today as well.
It was not. Oh, there's you drinking a Vimto, so I'll go watch that. Oh my god. So, yes. So, Rachel's question in response to Cryptmaster Good. Did you piss on the altar? Liam says, I wanked on it at first to test if it would work. It did. Rachel says, what? Liam says, it was not happy with me, but yeah. Yeah.
I did not know you could wank on the... Did you literally type in wank just to be like, lol, let's see how self-aware...
I'm a teenage boy. We've established this.
The letters formed in front of you, like some sick Scrabble. And you went, sick Scrabble move, and you went, I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna type wank. I typed it in, and the game went, don't know what to do with that, but let's just say it works. And then the temple got defiled.
Amazing.
Very pleased with that. In shame, I pissed on the next few. But yes.
Pissing is the way to go.
And honestly, that brings me to the end of the section about Cryptmaster.
Yeah.
Amazing game. No one's talking about it. If that sounds good to you, go check it out. Really, really great game.
Yeah, just look at the screenshots alone. The screenshots alone are like so cool. And like, I honestly think it's one of the best mechanics of all the games we're going to talk about. Like that idea of like you're picking out letters and like spelling them out is just so like I just went around tickling everyone for like the longest time.
You can do that.
And the game reacts to you doing that. Like it's so good. Like there's a giant eyeball at one point, and I was like tickle, and it was like no. I was like I'm sorry.
Oh, it's so good. It's just
I need to play more. Oh,
so you're a zombie. You're a zombie in this.
You are, yeah. 4 zombies.
Right. I have questions that I don't want answered. Ari, the bodily fluids of zombies.
How? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How did you piss?
How did you any of it?
How did you?
Yeah. with great difficulty.
Oh god!
Well, it would certainly defile an altar, wouldn't it?
Rachel.
It would certainly defile.
No, but like, you can absolutely cut this out. But like, a zombie wank, like dust would just come out.
Yes.
It would sound like this. Would be like.
You know what's really funny about this? Is that I think normally where like we hold back a little bit.
We do, but we've not seen each other in a couple of weeks. It's just got me. Have you guys watched What We Do in the Shadows?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
With the the name Jeff sounds like a weak ejaculation.
Yeah, I forgot about that line.
Just remind me of that really strongly.
Oh, goodness me. Well, on that note, Rachel.
It's me.
What is your next game?
So you know how you guys were like, oh, for Animal World, you should get a notebook. This is the game where you need a notebook. I'm being fucking serious. I'm being so fucking serious right now. So even before I mention it, grab a notebook right now.
Oh, I've got one. I've got one right here.
I have a brand new one. It's pretty.
That's really a good one. Is that an Alice?
That's a really good one.
Is that an Alice Madness Returns?
Reference, yeah.
It's just generally Alice in Wonderland. It was a Christmas
yeah.
present, so I don't know its exact provenance. But
I thought it was Alice Madness Returns.
it could be because I've not played Madness Returns yet.
It's
is
fucked.
that the +10 Vorpal Blade?
That's the one where my mum she didn't accidentally. I asked for it and she bought it for me, and it's like literally like got an 18 mark on it, and I was not 18. I was a very young child. Anyway, yeah. So my next game is Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. Lorelei and the laser eyes. They actually based that. Oh, yes, some really cool context. So, did you guys like the game Sayonara Wild Hearts?
Yes,
Well,
to a
if you
dangerous
did,
degree.
if you did, this game by the same developer Sumogo is nothing like that. So there's that. They did a complete 180, like the Akira slide on the bike, 180
Yep, love
turn,
that.
and have come out with what I'm definitely calling, I know we've just talked about Animal, but this is the best puzzle game of 2024. This game, hands down, it does new things with puzzle games that I've just never seen before. The way it's telling its story, the way it looks, the different elements of puzzles and puzzle solving and how you approach it, it's just unmatched. I love a puzzle game, I love a detective game, and this game does shit that it would just galaxy brained me completely from start to end.
Wow.
Yeah, this game is really fucking good. So I'm going to dance around the game a little bit just because, like with a lot of puzzle games, like I don't really want to talk about something that might accidentally be potentially a puzzle spoiler, because what's really cool about this game is that the story and its puzzles are so closely interlinked. Here's the setup first. You are a young woman who has been summoned to a hotel through a letter by a mysterious man. You arrive at the hotel, and just like with Animal Well, you're kind of dropped into this space and you are left to explore. The first hour of the game, I was just like exploring the hotel, coming against locked doors, finding strange objects, and just being really overwhelmed with the amount of information I was getting. This game can feel quite overwhelming at first. The amount of puzzles that are thrown at you, the amount of information, items, notebooks, things that you pick up can be very daunting. But this puzzle game is incredible in that everything is interlinked. Everything is connected. Like, there would be story beats in this puzzle game that I would be like, is this a story beat or is this a clue to a puzzle? And then when I'd solve a puzzle, I'd be like, oh my god, that's a story. That links to the story. This is who this person is. This is when they were born. This is XYZ. Like, I've never played a game where its story and its puzzles are so closely related, I couldn't work out where the puzzle started and ended. I was absolutely like floored with the amount of like,
Wow.
I just navigated this game kind of like in this very intense puzzle gaming, I played it, it's a 20-hour game. Me and friend of the podcast, Henry, played it in about 5 sittings. We were absolutely enraptured with it.
Wow.
Oh, shit. Okay.
It's very intense. I think it's good to have a second pair of eyes with you playing it. This is perfect if you like puzzle games playing with your partner or a friend or online with someone, because it's just great to talk things out. A lot of the puzzles in Lorelei are number-based. There are some pattern-based. There are some interacting with an object. There are riddles. There's wordplay. There's astrological signs. There's Roman numerals. There's all sorts of like star signs and symbols and just so many different aspects of puzzle solving. This game has it, and they're all presented to you in such a really unique and interesting way. Again, dancing around. So yeah, essentially, I started playing this game. I felt immediately overwhelmed. That's okay if you do. Slowly, the hotel begins to unlock around you. The story begins to unravel, and dancing. This game is kind of like, the themes are magic, illusions, the delusions of an artist, performance, what's real, what's not. Like, at the end of the game, I honestly didn't know if I was in a hotel, if it was a weird performance art, if it was a museum exhibition. I didn't know what timeline I'm in. This game plays a lot with times and characters. I didn't know if this was real or a dream. I didn't know, like, it really plays with these thematical elements really well. And like, yeah, it's very like weird in that respect. And its story is almost like, it's like you start with nothing, but at the end you feel like so complete in the story it's trying to tell and what this game is trying to do. it's got such a point of view that like I said, I've never seen in puzzle games before. This is a very contemporary puzzle game. And it's like The Witness, it's like Edith Finch. In my review, I compared The Hotel to The Oldest House in Control. It's very much that vibe. It's like, I don't know, there's lots of video game inspirations. It's Resident Evil, where you go into a room and the camera is fixed at weird angles. Hello, activated. It's very aware of where it sits in video game history, in puzzle game history.
What?
And it's a powerhouse of puzzle solving. Like, I cannot recommend this game highly enough. It's around, I finished it in 20 to 25 hours. You will need a notebook. I cannot emphasize enough. Please have a notebook. And I'm not talking about a post-it note. I think you need a full-on notebook with hundreds of pages free, because you will be scribbling shit down. Like, it's just a really fantastic video game. And I felt I felt full when I finished it.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So there it is. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. If you liked Sayonara Wild Hearts, or if you didn't, who cares? Play this game.
Amazing.
I have 2 questions for you.
Absolutely.
You've sold me on this. I actually didn't know much about
Me
it.
too.
I've been waiting for you to just basically tell me about it.
Same. I was like, Rachel's
Yeah. Oh,
Rachel's doing this on the
really?
podcast. Well, we saw the trailer for it yesterday, friend of the podcast, Nick and I. And he said, that looks
Yeah.
cool. And I was like, I know Rachel's talking about it on the podcast tomorrow, so leave it with me. And all I can say is, I guess I'm buying him 2 notebooks now, because
I was going to say,
well
Mick,
for this. And
you
we love
and Mick
playing
should
puzzle
play,
games together.
yeah.
We love playing
Yes.
puzzle games
Yeah.
together, so like 100%.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
So, related to my question then, where does this sit next to, I would argue, the Indieventure choice of best puzzle game, Obra Dinn? Can they be compared? Because it sounds like you enjoyed this more than Animal Well.
Yes, I did.
Right.
I think, I didn't know if I did at first, but Lorelei has stuck with me in ways in which when you play too much Tetris, you start seeing the Tetris blocks.
Oh, shit.
Like,
yeah,
I can't, I look at the clock now and I can't
What?
not see shit.
She's
Oh,
rewritten
wow,
her
okay.
brain.
I know, this game rewired my brain. In terms of Obra Dinn, yes, I do. I've thought about putting it in the vault massively.
Oh,
wow,
I've gone back and
already?
forth putting it
Wow.
already. Honestly, the
Fuck.
only thing
Yeah.
about this game is that its puzzles and story are so interlinked. You cannot finish it unless you solve literally 90% of the puzzles. If you cannot solve a puzzle, you might be stuck. That's not saying, though, that when you do solve it, the solution will cascade into other areas of the game. But there were several times when me and Henry hit a wall of like, we have a bunch of items, we have a bunch of information, nothing seems to fit anywhere. But then as soon as one would hit, it would cascade into the others. And soon you'd be on that high of solving one and another one, another one, another one. That's my only grip, which is why I gave it 4.5 out of 5 on Games Radar, because I was like, that's the only, it's not a perfect game, it's not a perfect 5. But in the same way, because Obra Dinn obviously doesn't have that. In Obra Dinn, you can just play the whole game and see the whole story. Because of the nature of this game, it's not really a criticism, because I mean, there are guides online now, but honestly, if I was able to solve it without guides, I don't think it's that difficult. You just really need to tap into what the game wants from you and just rewire your brain. And it's so good. You both should play it with partners or on your own. Like it's a really good. It's a detective game as well. Essentially, it's a detective game. The story you're trying to piece together, timelines, people, what role they play, if they're real, if they're not. It's
incredible.
so
Wow.
good.
This sounds like extremely Indieventure coded.
Oh,
Yes, it really is.
Yeah.
I can't wait for you both to play it. Like, and I say when, because oh, wait, did I say if?
Yeah.
Please play it.
No, I think
Yeah.
it feels like something Rebecca and I will both play with our respective
Yeah.
partners.
Oh, yeah. I feel very sold on this.
Damn, I can't wait. Yeah, fucking good recommendation,
It's
dude.
really
Yeah.
good.
I was
Damn.
literally waiting for you to review it for, like, not just for your review, but to personally receive the review from you
Yeah.
in this episode. And like, yeah, sold. Totally sold.
Yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, Lorelei and Laser Eyes. Who's next? Rebecca.
Well,
is it me?
It's time to open the containment chamber because Rebecca is about to go feral. Rebecca, please. I'm so excited to hear you talk about this.
Oh,
Yes,
amazing.
me too.
I'm ready.
Well, I mean, like, I am currently realizing that this is the oldest game that we're going to be talking about on this podcast today. It was released way back on the 26th of April, which is about 15 years ago in indie game terms at the moment, just because of how much has been out. But yeah, this is Sucker for Love, Date to Die For.
Dream, 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 dream. When I want you in my arms, when I want you and all your charms,
which I also reviewed for my day job employers at vg247.com. So you can check out a longer ramble, probably, or a different ramble at the very least over there if you want to know what my impressions were.
A very good review.
Yes.
Literally the day after I played it, whereas now I've had a couple of weeks to think about it some more. So like, but yeah, this is a sequel, or well, technically it's a prequel. It's the second game in a planned trilogy of Sucker for Love, which is a Lovecraftian visual novel dating sim series, developed by solo dev Akabaka and published by Dread XP, who basically are just absolutely dominating the whole fun, quirky indie horror game market at the moment. Dread XP stuff, you kind of always know you're in for a good time, even if it's not necessarily your cup of tea. It's usually like, you know, it's going to be a great production. But yeah, Sucker for Love, Date to Die For is... I also reviewed the first game in the series, by the way, Sucker for Love First Date. I reviewed it for RPS back in 2022. So this is kind of an interesting one to go back to, because it's the only... I've not done many professional reviews, and now this has been like the majority of my professional reviews have been on the Sucker for Love series, which I'm not mad about. That's pretty fun. That's pretty good fun. So this is like quite different to the first game in a number of ways. I would say that it's actually even in a different genre, really. This is way more survival horror with a dating mechanic, whereas the first game was very much a dating sim with light survival horror elements to it, and sort of like, you know, it's quite gross, it's quite, you know, weird. But yeah, this is pretty much like survival horror throughout, but there is also a love story running through it, which I thought was a very compelling one, surprisingly, because I wasn't... It's not that I wasn't sure about the choice, but how to say this in a way that doesn't like seem offensive to anyone, because I don't mean it in like a rude way. I'm just gonna say, personally not a furry massively. So like the initial response to the character design on the love interest for this one, who is Roxanne, aka the goat with 1,000 young, because they're all Cthulhu mythos inspired love interests. I was like, all right, not my thing, but you know what? She is a delight, and I totally get why, despite not being into the goat thing. I get why. I get why our protagonist falls so hard for Roxanne and goes to such great lengths to be with her. But the thing that I think is also really unique and interesting about the way... Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. Just did not have any air suddenly. It's the thought of Roxanne.
She's taking your breath away.
Woo, she really has. Yeah, it's I think possibly I've played a fair few dating sims, largely some quite offbeat ones anyway, but I think it's the first one I've played with a canonically ace protagonist, which I think is quite an interesting...
Woo!
And you know, it's nice because it's done so well, in my opinion, at least. It's done with respect to ace people as a potential audience, as well as, you know, a point of view being represented. It feels, to the best of my ability to assess it, quite authentic. It's, you know, there are mechanics in the game to keep the more sexual aspects within your comfort levels. If that's something that you kind of don't want to focus on within the game, you can spray them with a spritz can of water like you would with a cat, because they're all animal-themed eldritch goddesses, so you can like spray them.
That is funny.
If you want, actually, that does become a mechanic as well, because you also use it for like, because there are survival aspects, which I'll talk about in a second. Sometimes you have to, or they'll kill you. Not Roxanne, she's lovely, but like sometimes some of the other characters will properly try to kill you if you don't do that. But also it's just to like skip over bits of the game if you think that it's becoming a bit too like uncomfortable for whatever reason. And you can also do that to like skip through conversations about like having kids, which I appreciated as a child-free person. You know, if you kind of feel uncomfortable because there's a point where like there's a conversation about having children that becomes like kind of touches on someone kind of pressuring you to have kids, and if that makes you uncomfortable, you can skip that as well. So it's like, for saying it's horror, and it's bloody scary horror at times. Like, it's done quite respectfully to try and make sure that everyone's included and can play it comfortably from like that sort of perspective, which I really appreciated. The thing that makes it survival horror is, and I can't believe that I made it through this game, because this is usually my least favourite mechanic in a horror game, is there is stuff kind of after you for most of this game.
Oh, God.
And although
Oh,
it's
God.
still a visual novel, the one mechanic really that's been introduced since the first game is every time you move to, because you're in this big sort of family mansion in this one. You were in a small apartment in the first game, but you're in a family of 13, I think, in their big mansion in the second game. So it's a much bigger building. And every time you move to a different room, you don't just get to move. You have to open the door. You have to hold the door handle, turn the handle, pull it back, see what's there, react to whatever's there if there's something there. And that's like the sort of main way that the gameplay has changed. It's not just like making choices and kind of working out what you need to do. In terms of puzzles, the puzzles are a bit more like flagged immediately, but you've got to kind of learn. There's 4 chapters. Every chapter has a different kind of stalker enemy in it, and you have to kind of work out how they're moving around the space. And you always can beat them as a puzzle. It's never like a fight. It's always like a, work out how to evade and how to overcome and everything. But that is like such an unexpected horror mechanic in all of this. And yeah, it's pretty scary. It's pretty scary, but also you can put a warning on, so before a jump scare it pops up a cute little thing that says there's a jump scare coming, so brace yourself. So incredibly
I
inclusive.
love that. Is there really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so basically it's like, it really is quite sweet. It comes up at the start with this title card for Dread XP, and it's like a rainbow themed version of Akabaka's logo in Japanese, and underneath it says positively spooky. And the kind of thing that they're trying to really be about is being like, it is like horror for everyone. So it's very like LGBT inclusive. It's inclusive regardless of like your tolerance for, being like creeped out versus scared.
Love that.
They
That's
aim
so
for a
good.
comedic tone a lot of the time, which I always think really works very well. And yeah, I was just really impressed with it. It was a great revisit of the same world. It does tie into the first game more than I expected eventually, but it does also stand alone really well.
Nice.
And because of the fact that it's a prequel, I think you could play them in either order. And I think if you're more into horror and aren't sure about the dating sim aspect, probably play this one first. If you're more into dating sims and aren't sure about horror aspect, play the other one first. Would be my recommendation. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, I definitely want to play this game. Oh, sounds so
Yeah, me
good.
too.
And I love that, what you said about like the horror elements and like setting your own boundaries in terms of like what you like and don't
It's
like.
so good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Like,
smart.
When you were
Yes.
talking about opening doors and things chasing you, I thought to myself, I'm out. I'm never going to play this. But then when you said you can get it to warn you, I'm back in.
Yeah,
That's
Yes,
amazing.
me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it really is as well. It's like, as I say, it's not a sort of RNG chasing you. It is always on a pattern and like learning the pattern. And like, I hate stuff chasing you in horror games, and
Yeah.
I would not have put up with that if it wasn't for the fact that you can think your way out of it, and you can sort of learn the rules of the pursuer and work out how to get around them, and eventually work out, to get like true endings, you have to sort of like, I don't want to give too much away, but partly it's about learning to overcome them, but also it's like learning how to kind of bring them around to your side and your way of thinking.
Ooh, okay. That's interesting.
It's so sweet and so charming. It's like, it's again, as with the very different other game I've talked about today, nothing groundbreaking, but hard to pick flaws in how it's doing what it's doing.
Lovely.
Yeah.
I love
Amazing
that.
recommendation.
It sounds groundbreaking in terms of having an ace character.
Well, in terms of having an
Yeah,
ace
true.
character as the protagonist of a dating sim, like most certainly, I think that may be the one thing that it
That's
does
cool
that
as
is
fuck.
truly like very
That is cool as
unusual. And like I say, it's not that I didn't have faith in Akabaka to have like thought this through and done it very respectfully, but like it just did work. I just think it worked so well,
Yeah.
and it's like a product for a group that it's representing. Sometimes that's where attempts at representation do kind of fall down, and I include a lot of products that I really love in that, where you think, this is great for getting a story across about someone with a certain like marginalization, but it doesn't really serve that group of people, and that can be kind of sad, really, because very, like I say, very inclusive. Very nice.
Hell yeah.
I love that.
And, you know, like spritzing a woman in the face because she's trying to get on you to have kids. Very, very satisfying.
That is so funny. Like, oh, I need to play this. It sounds absolutely incredible.
It's good.
Mhm.
It's like, no.
The Steam reviews are well, exactly as you can expect. Here's the top one. Quirked up MILF goat with a little bit of swag busts it down sexual style. Is she goated with the sauce?
Yeah, the reviews
Love
are
it.
quite delightful. I was also really interested because I like read a few of the discussion boards, the sort of fan discussions shortly before the game released, and I don't want to sort of put words into the dev's mouth here, but I think if he wanted to do a sequel that ensured that people who didn't get the joke in the first one and thought it was meant to be unironic didn't hang around for too long.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't have done a better job. It's like, yeah, no, it's gonna be an ace lesbian who is really into goat mommy. So if you missed the irony in the first one,
Yeah, let's double down.
yeah,
I love that.
Exactly.
I properly love it when things do that.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Well, you were feral there. Shall I be feral for a bit?
Please do.
Yes.
I'm so excited
let's-
for this.
Talk about Crow Country. So, Crow Country is a game by SFB Games, who you may know from Tangle Tower, which is a cutesy puzzle game with very nice cartoony visuals. This is not that at all. This is a Resident Evil style survival horror game. And my goodness, I love this game. Predictably, it has completely altered my perception about indie horror, and this is my favorite game of the year without question at the moment.
Hell yeah. Ring that
I
bell.
finished
Ding,
this,
ding, ding, ding.
But we got it. We got one. So in Crow Country, you play as a young woman called Mara who goes to an abandoned theme park called Crow Country to find the missing owner, a man called Edward Crow. When she arrives, she finds it completely abandoned, but full of horrible, gooey, zombie-like creatures. It's your job to just find Edward Crow. And immediately, even just by looking at this game, you can see where the influences came from visually. It's presented from the same perspective as classic Resident Evil. It's sort of like top-downy, isometric-y. But visually, it looks like pre-rendered Final Fantasy PS1 era graphics. And the fact that they've managed to achieve that style so authentically, but it'd be running real time. There's none of this is pre-rendered. It's all rendered in real time. Is absolutely exceptional. But what I love about this game is that it doesn't just ape the visual style of games from that era. It understands what was so great about classic Resident Evil more than any other game I've played that's tried to do so since the original game, even more than some Resident Evil games. Because this is a game about exploring a space. And it's much like what you were saying with Laser Eyes.
Mm.
You start the game and there's just a lot of locked doors. There's a lot of puzzles, and it's just about finding those solutions and slowly but surely opening up this space until it grows bigger and bigger, and you find new items and new story points and new characters. And then eventually you start to loop around this area. So as more enemies come in, you can start to go from one area to the other. Because this is a theme park, there's lots of distinct areas. There's a fairy tale area, a horror area, under the water area. And the puzzles are really fun. They're never frustrating. I found that it hits that sweet spot that Resident Evil always hit, where you can figure it out in 5-10 minutes at most, but there are some more complex puzzles that give you better rewards. It understands a space in a way that feels very authentic. I always feel like the Spencer Mansion and the USG Ishimura from Dead Space are the two best survival horror spaces. I will now add Crow Country to that list
Ooh.
of 2 games. It works as a believable space and as a video game labyrinth. And I think that's a really hard balance to strike. The story is genuinely great. It's very 90s.
Hell yeah.
And it's
Nice.
really rooted in that like 90s, like it is 90s nostalgia, even in the way that the characters interact with each other. And there's just lots of like, I think where it gets inspiration from Silent Hill, which I was quite surprised by, is that there's just a lot of weirdos here that are sort of like not really acknowledging what's happening. And that's like a really distinct vibe. Mara as a main character is absolutely brilliant. She's so confident and so like stoic in the face of horror in a way that's just really refreshing. But the thing that really, really got me and really made me like think to myself, yep, this is the good shit, is when you finish the game, it says, hey, you finished the game. Here's your rating, letter rating, just like classic Resident Evil. Here's an item. And if you get better ratings, we'll give you better items. Also, we've put a load of crystal crows around this place. Go find them. And for me, this shows just how much they love those classic games, because what the original Resident Evil games knew is that they can only scare you once. That's a trick that once they do it, it's out of the bag. You're never going to be scared again. So then those games become about mastery. They say, right, you're not going to get scared anymore, but how fast can you complete this challenge? How many secrets can you uncover? Play this game repeatedly and just rinse it for all it's worth. And that's what Crow Country does. It says you finish the game, we're not going to scare you anymore, but we've hidden so much stuff in here.
Shit.
How can you find it? And things like the shotgun, an iconic survival horror weapon you just don't unlock on your first playthrough because you might not figure out how to do it. And there are a bunch of sentient mushroom boys that will upgrade your items that you might find throughout the game. I can't tell you how much I fell in love with this. It's just such a blast to play. It took me 7 hours the first time to finish it, but I was making notes the whole time. I then played through it immediately after, like a day later, and finished it in an hour and a half because I was just like in the speedrun mentality. There's still more I need to do in this. I finished it 3 times now. Oh, this game is just an absolute, I almost said masterpiece. I am going to say masterpiece. For me specifically, you know, sickosmeme.jpg, this is like the exact game I didn't know I wanted to play, and they have just nailed it right out of the gate. Crow Country is an all-timer. I've also thought about putting it in the vault. I had those thoughts. I was like, this might be a vault pick. God, SFB are talented.
They are so talented. Literally, this is the next game I'm going to play, I think.
Is
even
it?
before Cryptmaster. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Damn, okay.
Yeah, this game I've seen what people have said about it, and now hearing you, I'm like, let's go, because there's an exploration mode, right?
Yeah, I'm really happy you brought that up because I forgot.
Thank
Yes, just like you were saying with Sucker for Love, you get 2 options when you start. There's no difficulty options. There's just 2 options. Hey, do you want there to be enemies or do you not want there to be enemies?
Ooh.
And although the enemies definitely add an additional layer of horror, I can see this game being equally as enjoyable just by, you know, the atmosphere is so pervasive and dense. You don't need zombies to be walking around for it to be scary. Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely
I'm really
brilliant
glad
game.
you brought that up because that was my question. How would you rate, assuming that someone was fairly cowardly about certain survival horror situations, but did want to give it a go? How would you sort of rate the combat difficulty in this?
It's not difficult, but it's definitely got a level of jank and awkwardness to it that's there for, again, sickos like me.
Fair enough.
Aiming, you've got like a little bit more affordance with your aiming than classic Resident Evils, but then the enemies are faster and they wobble and sway as they're coming towards you.
Oh.
So it's
Well, that
like,
sounds unpleasant, but like a good time.
oh, the enemies, like they get progressively more like grotesque as the game progresses.
Oh,
And
Ooh.
there's some enemies where like
Nasty.
you see them coming down this dark corridor and you can hear them and you're like, nah. And honestly, like the most disturbing part of it is the story. The story is so unique and so messed up. And the conclusion to it, you can miss it. You can actually like miss the
Wow.
one little secret that sort of explains everything
oh no.
is missable.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no!
But I can tell you off. If you're gonna play it, Rachel, I can tell you how to find it. But,
Oh god, yeah, I might need that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good game.
Yeah.
Love
I
this
definitely
thing.
intend to play it, so tell me as well
Yeah.
when the time is right, please. I can't decide what mode I'll play it on though. Can you have multiple saves? Is it Is it?
Yep, there's 3 saves. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay, that's me doing the scary run when I'm in certain moods, and doing the other kind of scary run when I'm in a different mood.
I'd
Yeah,
recommend
I'm
the
giving it the
scary run.
same. Yeah, because I don't know which one I'm going to go for. My go-to would be exploration, but I don't know. This game kind of sounds like you want to see this fucked up shit. Like,
Right?
kind of.
It's like I'm not actually bad at this, and also I've just spent like a fair bit of time rewriting my brain to play the original Tomb Raiders with tank controls. So I feel like if there's ever a moment,
Oh, it's way easier to play than Tomb Raider, trust me.
all right, fair enough then. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
All right then, you've convinced me.
Fuck
Well,
yeah.
Now it is time to complete a very exciting loop on this podcast. Rachel,
Yes.
what is your next game?
My next game is 1000 times resist.
Oh, yeah.
Ugh. And I say that because I've been talking about this game for quite a long time since I played the demo, and I've been mispronouncing it as X resist when it has been confirmed it's 1000 times resist.
Oh, right.
And
okay.
after playing this game, that title makes a lot more sense, and it hits home in places I didn't know I had before playing this game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, if Lorelei and Animal focused on like puzzles and Lorelei a bit more on its story, 1000 times resist is just an absolute anthology of themes and stories, and I've just been totally and utterly swept away by this game, and not only just the themes that it's juggling, but the depth in which it gives those themes like plenty of time to kind of like stretch out. And I'm not talking about like light themes, I'm talking about like clones, love between different kinds of love, sisterly love between devotees, love between people who are fighting for the same cause, like aliens, killing God, mummy issues. Like there's all these like really interesting
God damn.
themes wrapped up in this 7 to 8 hour game. And I've talked about this a couple of times on the podcast, but I'm going to repeat myself because the main hook of the game is its story. This incorporates a kind of different areas of gameplay, but it's mostly a visual novel. There are some gameplay attributes to it, which are very good, but the story is why you will be playing this game. The characters are why you will be playing this game. And my God, just there's story and characters here. So in 1000 Times Resist, you play as a clone who is a descendant of a god-like being. The way this godlike being came to be was that our world was invaded by these giant aliens who would not do anything, but they brought with them a disease which wiped out the human population, except for one girl who was immune to the disease called Iris. Iris then cloned herself to make a new utopia, in quotes, of a clone society with her at the top as the All-Mother, as like God, essentially. And we play as one of these clones living in this society. Her name is called Watcher, and her job is to learn more about the All-Mother, learn about her memories so they can be retained, like the All-Mother's history, where she came from, her time at school, her time at a government facility when they realized that she was immune, the beginning of the clone society, and kind of its downfall, because that's where this game kind of goes. And it is this is Sunset Visitors' debut game. They are a Chinese studio based in Canada, and I can't believe the level of storytelling in this game. It's just really, as I said before, like hits home in a number of really intense ways. The game opens in like what is just like a devastating act of violence, and we see the lead up to that, and then at the midway point we see into the future of that single act. And yeah, like, I think what I really like about this game is that Iris and Watcher, but particularly Iris, you're witnessing essentially a villain origin story, how this young girl, a teenager, her journey to become a god, essentially, and the steps and decisions she made to be this kind of like cruel teenager. We see her in her school years. She is understandably quite cruel. She is a Chinese second generation immigrant living in Canada, and the racism she faces against, like, for her and also her parents. And then, yeah, her discovering that, the government discovering that she is immune, and what she had to go through in that facility, like leaving her parents, her very complicated relationship with her parents, mainly her mother. And yeah, this like ripple effect of power, responsibility, mothers and daughters, betrayal. And it's just really good storytelling. There are just moments in this game, single sentences that really felt like a physical punch. It's really good at its pacing, its narrative timing. The dramatic irony in this game is everywhere. I feel like every chapter, I was like, that was the best one. No, this was the best one. This was the best one. And that's from the first chapter through. And it's just a really amazing game. Like I said, it's a debut. What the fuck? I can't wait to see what the studio does next. This, for me, is in a tussle with Lorelei for like game of the year. Wow. I kind of knew it was like gonna probably be my game of the year, because I played the demo, fell in love with that, played a preview, which was half the game, fell in love with it, and now I finished the complete thing. I am just even more devoted to this game. I think this one wasn't reviewed a lot. It's definitely word of mouth. If you love really intense storytelling, if you love clones and relationship between women in particular, this game is just really interesting in where it goes with that, and a really interesting sci-fi game. Right, I'm very picky with my sci-fi games. I don't really like a lot of sci-fi. I love Citizen Sleeper, but that's kind of as far in terms of the indie spaces I go. This is a fucking good sci-fi game. Clones, AI, aliens, like, it just handles these like very traditional sci-fi topics in ways that I had just not thought about before without being cliche. Yeah, this game is special. I'm really happy it exists, and I want to see what they do next. I'm desperate to see what they do next. Sunset Visitor. Damn. So yeah, girl, this game. I've also thought about putting this in the vault as well. The thing with the vault, though, is that I need to give it at least a year to see if it it could be close. It could be close proximity. Same with Lorelei. I'm like, I love these games so much, but for the vault, like, it's okay if we throw it in, but I want to make sure. Like, I will wait until 2025 to put, if I want to, maybe put them in the vault. I want to see if they stand the test of time, but I do feel like 1000 Times Resist will absolutely. God, even resist. That word has so many meanings in this game. Anyway. If you like any of the shit I just said, play that game.
I do. I do like that shit. I want to play that.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, I just want to experience it for myself, and have done since you started talking about it. So, yes, very excited. Also, very excited, specifically your recommendation for it on the basis of its like sci-fi appeal. I feel like you getting really into sci-fi is like me getting really into fantasy. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, we are like geek obsessed with the setting. So I'm really excited to see what the magic factor is there.
Yeah, there's just some cliches in both sci-fi and cyberpunk specifically. I would call this game cyberpunk. There's just some cliches in there that I'm really tired and like I'm just over.
Oh yeah.
And so I've just stepped away. Same with fantasy, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I've just kind of stepped away from those genres. Absolutely. But it's so refreshing when a game is like, it comes at it in such a unique perspective. And I'm just like, hell yes, this game is so good. So yeah, if you want to cry a bunch, play this game.
I do want to do that. Actually, yeah.
Do you want to cry a bunch?
Play this and play Little Kitty Big City and like bring the mood back up.
Yeah,
balance the two.
Yeah,
I love that.
Literally, how I used to play horror games was I used to have like a puppy or kitten video compilation on the side.
This, yeah.
I can do that. I can play Crow Country with Little Kitty Big City on my laptop, and when I get scared, or with 1,000 times resist, when you get too sad, you just play Little Kitty Big City.
Kitty Big City.
Oh,
Just like-
listen to the purrs and the chirps of the cat.
Oh, yeah. Just like if you have a Steam Deck, just pick up the Steam Deck and just like, a minute.
Weird, yeah.
Your tears just fall onto the Steam Deck.
Oh yeah, don't do
Very
that.
Short
dramatic.
circuit the Steam Deck.
No.
But yeah,
Oh,
that's my
wow.
last pick of the trilogy of my games. So
Incredible.
That brings us on to
one more, yes.
one more, a biggie. So,
Bigger.
who would like to go first talking about Hades 2?
Their hot end of.
Yeah, no, yeah. That is, yeah, okay, so moving on to hyperfixations.
I mean, how much has everyone played so far?
That's a good point.
That is a very good point.
I've gone past the second. I'm in the third area.
Yeah, I got to the final
nowhere.
boss of the third area.
I played for like 2 hours. I'm nowhere. And also, for what it's worth, I still love Hades. I'm still rubbish at Hades, so I will be trailing behind you guys.
I've got God mode on. I have got
Do ya?
God mode on.
Fair enough.
God, yeah,
Interesting.
the one that like ups your percentage every
Yeah,
replay.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I played Hades like that. I will play Hades too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the same.
I do think that I need to start using God. I just don't have. I have the skill, or I have the potential for the skill, but not the patience or the time. So yeah, I definitely
Yeah,
need
just pop
to,
God mode on. It's there for a reason, right?
Yeah,
Definitely. use it.
absolutely.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
went immediately into the options. I saw the option, clicked it, never
Yep.
looked back.
Fair, absolutely fair.
What's the best way to tackle this? Should we talk about story first? Or
Yeah, sure. Let's do story first.
This is a sequel to Hades, shock, where you play as a new character. Rebecca, why don't you say the name of the new character? So
All
I
right,
don't have
it's
to.
Melanoy. Is that what we settled on?
Melanoy. Sure.
Yeah.
Mel, as Rachel and I said.
Mel.
You play as Melanoy, who is the sister of Zagreus from the first game and the daughter of Hades. And she is a witch, and she is attempting to defeat Kronos, the Titan of Time, to save her family and release them from suspended animation. It's an interesting story in that it follows exactly the same structure of the first game, in that you are embarking out into the underworld to defeat bosses and eventually reach Kronos to defeat the Titan of Time. But it is a very different vibe in the sense that the first game is a game about escape, and this is a game about revenge. And it does make a difference, like thematically and narratively, I think. That makes it feel different enough and compelling enough that I was like already invested straight away. Melanoy is a really good character. Are we all agreed on this?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it.
I'm liking her a lot, yeah.
She's good. Yeah. I was thinking maybe not as good as Zagreus, but that's because I haven't spent 60 hours with her yet, which is probably why. The supporting cast is very good as well. What I really like about Hades 2 is that it's like, I feel like the first game had really good diversity and representation, but this game really feels very female led. It is
Yeah.
a witchy game, and that again, just a really nice vibe.
One for the witches.
It's one for the witches.
One for the
The witches and me and Liam, as we discussed in last episode.
And you babes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I love the witchy vibe. It's really, really enamored me.
Yeah, I think as well, in terms of like how the witchiness is not just an aesthetic. Mel is definitely, if Zag was to be more hack and slash, Mel feels much more like a spellcaster, which I fucking hated at first, not gonna lie.
Did you?
Any type of game where there's like spells to be cast, even in D&D, I'm like, absolutely not. I want to be the big barbarian with a big hammer. Like, I do not like a lot of spell casting. But so that's the interesting thing about Hades 2 is that because of this witchy vibe, a lot of the action is focused on mob control. It's focused on casting. It's focused on range. Thankfully, the second weapon you unlock like is a melee weapon, so that's great. But as someone who fucking hates that kind of stuff, I loved it in Hades. I'm having such a good time. The casting feels quick enough that it is like you are like hitting someone essentially.
Oh yeah.
The casting also looks amazing. Like there's just this kinetic energy
so
that the
pretty.
first Hades had, where you just feel fucking great. You feel awesome when you're casting spells and when you're thumping some demon on the head, and it's just like. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I like Mel as a character. Zag is very cocky. Mel is the opposite. She's a woman on a fucking mission. She's focused. She's not messing around. Love that about her. And yeah, like you said, the characters are great as well. And I like the diversity. So I don't think I've played enough of it yet, but I'm very much looking forward to playing more. Very much an uh-oh moment when it was like, oh, this spell does this and it's ranged. And I was like, oh no, oh God. But yeah, very much got over that very quickly.
It's definitely a more complex game than the first.
It is, yeah.
I was quite surprised by that. It's definitely more Hades for what that's worth. I think Supergiant just had more to say in this specific template, and its sequel design in its most like common and natural form, I guess. Like it is just Hades, but more. But I really enjoy how the things they've added, once you sort of get in the rhythm and flow of it, it does feel like a faster game than the first one.
Yeah.
It feels like you've just got more options, even before you start putting the boons in, which obviously change your attacks in such mad ways, and finding those synergies is obviously still the joy here. But having a mana bar and being able to basically extend an attack by holding down a button, it just gets you out of tricky situations more often. It gives you more like solutions to combat problems. It's brilliant. And I think if you really like the first game, once it clicks, you can just like get through it faster almost. I felt like because I played so much of the original game, I probably like the first boss really got me, that root witch. It took me about 6 times to actually get past her. And I think that entire boss is just trying to teach you how to use that area effect attack, which is new.
And the fact that your dodge is invincible, I always keep forgetting that.
I always forget that as well.
Oh my God. And the fact that you can sprint in this game as well, that you can just hold down and you will sprint. I always forgetting that, but like those boss fights are important. Those 2 things are super important for the first big boss, and those mini bosses as well. Like, gotta remember.
So
God damn. Also, farming mechanics? Did not expect
they're good,
that.
right? I like it. Yeah.
I was like, I've got a pickaxe. Hello.
Yes. Honestly, I was like,
materials.
Weirdly, that was the thing that hooked me the most. I've probably, as I say, I've only played a couple hours of it. I've probably, well, I'm definitely not as far through it as you guys are, but I usually, at the point where it's like, okay, now choose a tool and go and farm this resource, I'm like, oh, like, really? But it just really got me. It's like, it's a kind of fun way, if you have the sort of brain that has to keep strategizing, to be able to like, okay, pick a weapon and pick a tool. So not only are you thinking about how your combat works best, you're like, what do I, what is my immediate need? What would be great to focus on? I don't know if you've been in this situation yet where you're like about to sort of get into the fray, but you see like a silver ore deposit or something, and you're like, I could probably just really quickly, just like hammer away at it.
The number of times I've had my ass whooped because I'm trying to get some fucking moon silver, and like this, I'm just like, leave me alone.
Wait a second, just hold on.
Because 100% as soon as that fight is over, I will forget it's there, get excited by my boons, and go through the room and totally forget it's there.
I don't know about everyone else's Melanoid, but mine is here to farm, and you're just in the way of the farming effort.
She's cottage girl. She's farming.
Oh my God,
she's scavenging. She's into her witchy potions and lotions.
She is this incredibly
cottagecore lesbian,
witchy, like absolutely destructive fireball of a demigoddess.
And with a pet frog who I would die for already.
Oh, the frog
my
is
goodness.
cute.
I like her ghost roommate as well.
Dora.
Oh yeah,
she's
Dora.
great. Yeah. Big
She's
fan
like
of Dora.
she feels like the answer to Dusa. I feel like
Yeah,
she's like this game's answer to Dusa very
Yes.
much, and I enjoyed
Yeah.
that about her a lot from the get go. Like, boo, Tedesco.
It's like,
So-
yay, give us nothing. And I love her for that.
Yeah, right.
Like, and Mel is like, do you know what's going on in the story? And Dora's like, no.
Yeah, she didn't
Just
give a
vibing.
shit.
She
Love
knows like
that.
less of a fuck.
She's already dead. What's it matter? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just everything about Hades 1, but like amped up to 10. The character art, Jesus, it is so pretty.
It's
These
not even,
characters
like,
are
finished
really.
yet, is it? Like, as well. That's-
Yeah,
No, some
like
of them are
some
still
of the characters.
placeholders,
Mhm.
and yeah.
But jeez, oh my god, there's just a couple of them. The moon goddess one on the
Oh,
horse.
she's stunning. Yeah, such a beautiful piece of art. That. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Also,
And
a
then,
great mechanic
oh.
linked to that as well. Like
Yes,
the
the
moon
moon
powers,
stuff.
just add another layer on top of
Witchy.
everything. Yeah.
Witchy.
Witchy.
Witchy. Because there's some returning characters, like you got Zeus and Poseidon and all that,
Yep.
who are fine. But there are some other really, really spectacular characters who just like, the voice acting. Oh my god, they just know how to pick a good voice
Yep.
actor. That just encompasses everything about that character. Like, I've just come across Narcissus recently, and he's the most fucking annoying motherfucker ever.
Oh,
He
yeah.
sounds like he thinks he's chocolate. He's like in love with himself. I'm like, I fucking hate this douche. And like, it's the perfect coming together of like, yeah, like the voice
Yep.
actor and what Narcissus is about. Like, so good. God. Somebody's like self-obsessed, obviously. Like,
They just no one does it like Supergiant, right? Like they just don't. The music again, like Darren Cole,
oh,
who also directs the voice acting, I think. So like, what a talented person. But when like in the first area where it's playing like a remix of the Hades theme,
yes.
and you're just like, I'm back, and I can't believe it's been 4 years. Like this is incredible. Like there's just more of this game.
dun. And you're like, I'm in. I'm in. Let's go.
I'm so pumped. Let's go kill God. Like,
Even the
Yes.
right, the title menu when you load up the
so
game is just
good.
like, oh god, the UI is very pretty. It's not like Persona 5 levels or Persona game levels, but it's so fucking nice.
It's
just to,
nearly
like,
there, I
Move
think.
around,
Yeah.
like to move around the menus and just to like talk to these people and like pick different
Mm-hmm.
items. Like it's so slick. It's great.
It's amazing.
I'm having such a good time. It is very like the first one though. I don't really know what I was expecting. But I'm a bit like, I like it, but I'm not going to play it for long. I'm not going to put like 10 hours into this game. I'm probably going to reach the end of
Interesting.
Area 3 just to see what it's about, and then I'll probably leave it because I don't know.
Yes.
It's funny you say that because I had a very similar feeling, which is that like I played it for a couple of hours because you have to know what the crack is with the early access. But I'm like, I need to finish Hades, and I feel more inclined now to go and like get through, not like finish in terms of, I'm never going to do all the fancy, finish millions of runs, but like kind of see the story out because it's one of the many, many games that I've kind of like dropped off of over the years. And I feel more inclined to use the early access period of Hades 2 to kind of finally spur me to getting caught up in time for the launch, because I very rarely play stuff in early access. Just because there's like so much stuff out there already. I'm like, early access almost, I understand, especially for indies, like what it's doing in the industry and the the need for it in the current kind of climate and stuff. But I'm like, for me personally, it's just like, it makes more sense to use this as a jumping off point for getting back into the original, and then just be like, right, and then on launch you can kind of experience it almost as if you just played like a demo.
Yes. So this is what I wanted to talk about, because I agree with both of you. I've played 5 hours. I'm not going to play anymore. I'm done with it now.
No,
Because playing Hades at 1.0, the complete game was there. It was as polished as Supergiant were happy for it to be. And what I wanted to like raise, it's not really a question, it might not even be a discussion point. It's just a thought I had, and I'm going to say it out loud. The first game came out in early access on Epic Games Store. It was in early access for 2-3 years. And it didn't really get as much buzz as maybe it should have done because of those two factors. The game launches in 1.0. It becomes the sensation that it was in 2020. Now this sequel has come out following the same release format as the original game, but it's got all this attention on it now. It's on Steam. The player base is already humongous. is this going to change the perception of Hades 2? Because it's not going to come out, it's not going to like resurface as this thing where 90% of people who've played it have only heard of it this first time through word of mouth. This is going to be a known quantity for a couple of years. Like, how is that going to affect development now that Supergiant have a larger like user base of people who spent loads of time with the first game? How is it going to affect it when it finally breaks cover and you know, becomes 1.0? Like, I don't know. I just think it's interesting. It's going to be interesting following the development of this, because almost there's more pressure on them now to make sure that every major patch hits harder and to keep that momentum up. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be a fascinating period of development for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that from what I've read briefly in interviews, it is like a very deliberate choice because of the importance of the early access period to the first game and the development of the first game, like with pretty much constant community input from like a very passionate, you know, group of people. And like going back into that as sort of not as a matter of course necessarily, but like because it worked so well the first time, I think is really why. And like you can see why as well in the industry, things like Baldur's Gate 3, last year's uncontested game of the year, to the point where it like, you know, did incredible, and that had a similar thing, right? Very passionate base. But I think the interesting thing that you do raise is that both the original Hades and Baldur's Gate 3, you're talking a small, passionate community and like quite a niche game at the time that then became Game of the Year when it launched in 1.0. That's not typically how early access plays out. And as you say, with, you know, you cannot argue now, although still very indie, that Hades is a small, niche, passionate like community in the way that it was at the time. And it is, you know, it must be kind of uncharted waters for them. But I guess with the not knowing, you know, makes it an interesting experiment in itself to see, as you say, how it affects development by doing the same thing but in a wildly different context, I guess.
It's interesting that it's like, and this is just, I don't know what I'm saying, it's a thought, it's in my brain, very Liam coded, but like we have two roguelikes who are doing the opposite. Hades is releasing an early access to get player feedback, but Silksong is going to be shadow dropped 100%. Like, there's no deny. Like, we're going to do that. Yeah. They're definitely going to do that. So it's like, it's interesting these vastly different approaches. And I would argue that Hades, the anticipation of Hades 2 was equal to that of Silksong. Maybe Silksong a little bit more. But it's like interesting, these very two different approaches to what essentially is like the same problem or the same question of like, which will get the most engagement, which will get the most clicks, like purchasing, and like which will be better for like post whatever the developers do next. And I honestly don't know which is better.
Right.
Like with Hades, I feel fatigued a bit already because there's been like this outpouring of articles and opinions about it, and I've played it a bit myself. I'm into it. But would I be more into it if I could just absolutely like gorge on it in one go, like I imagine Silksong is going to be? Like, I honestly don't know the best approach. And I don't know which one like gets a more secure fan base or gets people more hyped, because surely with Hades 2, people will go away and they'll come back to it. But also that them going away is them not really as engaged as much. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's like, I want someone to like do a little analysis on these two different studios and their roguelikes and sorry, not roguelikes. One's a Metroidvania and one's a roguelike. Yeah.
It's a good point though. Maybe that's like, I'd be interested. Are we gonna come back to this eventually? Like we might not. Like, you know, we've spoken about it now. We might get to the point of release and we're like, actually, we've sort of said everything we need to say about Hades 2. You know, we might have given it the attention that we're going to give it. And it's in early access, it's not the full thing.
We also did all agree that we wanted to talk about it out of this month as well. Like, we were all adamant.
Yeah,
so it's definitely a standout. Like, we do love it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It's great. Yeah, it's great. But it's Hades 2. And you get what you want from that, but it's not finished. And it's very polished and it's very complete considering it's early access, but yeah, curious. I like your idea of measuring it next to Silksong. I think we should do that. It's like
that is a great idea.
Little research project between the three of us on this podcast.
Yeah, just like gauge our interest in it and like our anticipation and not, and like which one for us landed a bit better and which one didn't and why. And if Silksong releases this year, which I don't know if it will, to be honest.
But if you know what might be interesting is if Silksong does release and Hades 2 goes into 1.0 before the year ends, which one ends up on more Game of the Year lists?
Right.
Because,
It'll be a fight.
like, well, publications have recency bias. We do, because we play so much during the year, and sometimes things from earlier in the year get forgotten. And if we get to the end of the year and something as big as Silksong drops and then Hades goes into 1.0, like, are people going to have time to revisit it when they've already put all that energy into it back at the start of the year?
See, yep.
Like, yeah, interesting. Okay.
You're
yeah.
dividing attention between the early access release and the release.
Yes. Which the original game did too, but it just didn't have that much attention.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I think it's like, as well as kind of getting a sort of straw poll informally between us, it almost feels like it's building up a test case for how to do indie game marketing. Like, you could genuinely see that in a textbook in 10 years, because of how starkly they have the potential to contrast against each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I love getting analytical with it. Oh man, I'm gonna have a look at that. Yes. That's my sicko.
So, yes, it is.
Analysis.
So I think with that, that brings us to the end of this here podcast. We have covered
Woo!
8
Wow.
games. I had to count them again. I believe
Yes.
we've really got the measure of May. Oh, the measure of May. That sounds like a really nice
Ooh.
French art house film. Shall we move on to some hyperfixations?
Yes.
Hello and welcome to Hyperfixations. My name is Liam. Rebecca, would you like to tell us what's on your mind at the moment?
Sure.
That's not what this section is. What
Is
do
this,
you like?
is this
What
a therapy session?
Yeah, I'm about to say, what the hell was that? What's on your
on your
mind?
mind?
That's
It
not what this
didn't
is.
even occur to me to just just emotionally just unload. Oh my god, you guys. Do you ever try to pack up everything you own with very little notice? And
Oh, no, babes.
Yes, and it's
Yeah,
hellish.
yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We've only lived here 3 years. We've barely unpacked because we're 3 years just isn't very long when you get to our age,
That's
Very
true. Oh,
modular.
God, that's
very
true.
modular. Anyway, genuinely though, the thing that I wanted to talk about for hyperfixations of this episode is I don't, as I've probably mentioned in a few episodes, I don't watch a lot of TV these days, and it's honestly this year I haven't really watched anything. Like, I haven't sat and binged and watched anything in particular until this last week, and I've watched the
Ooh.
entirety of Fargo season 5 in very few
Oh,
sittings.
shit.
Oh,
Okay.
So I think definitely qualifies as at the point where I'm like just kind of going about my day, drifting, usually would be thinking about whatever video game I'm like playing to review or guide. And instead I'm thinking about Fargo season 5. I'm like, yeah, this is hyperfixation territory for sure.
Oh,
So I really wanted to come and recommend it. It came out, I think it was last November. It actually came out. So I was about 6 months late to it. But as I say, I just haven't been watching TV. Haven't been really able to get into anything for quite a while. But we're getting rid of our Amazon Prime subscription, which is where it's available in the UK. So we're just watching everything that we kind of want to see on that. Well, so we're going to, I think we've got it till August, and then we're going to let it rest for a while and let some things accumulate and not be subscribing to all the services, because that just doesn't make financial sense. So, but yeah, I love Fargo. I've enjoyed, every season of the show. Went back and watched the movie. Thought that was really good as well. Just wasn't really like aware of much of what was going on with this season, but oh my goodness, like I was so drawn in specifically by the main character. I don't know if either of you've watched much of Fargo.
I've only seen the movie.
It was my
Fair enough.
hyperfixation early this year, right?
Was it, or was it True Detective? Because I get those two mixed up really easily.
It was True
Just
Detective.
got those two mixed up really easily.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
So no, I haven't seen it. Oh yeah. Now I'm like, oh my god, I haven't seen the show.
Oh my god. Yes.
Tell.
I still need to watch True
Activated.
Detective Night Country. So it's like there's a lot of overlap there, but Fargo is a bit more like potentially from the criminal standpoint a lot of the time. So it kind of tends to follow like it's kind of like a very very like polite, slightly comedic version of The Wire, where it'll be like the cops and the criminals. But the thing that really made this season stand out for me, and like I've watched it all, I really enjoyed the whole franchise. I think this might be my favorite season, which I didn't think anything would top season 1, because season 1 was like such a good answer to the movie, and it just worked really, really well. But this kind of, rather than having a tie-in like the way seasons 2, 3, and 4 worked, where they all sort of like threaded back into the movie and the original TV series, like in some way. This doesn't have any explicit connections, but it kind of revisits the themes of the movie and season 1 again, but like inverts them all. Because the movie and season 1, they both in a way that is well done and justified and like not exploitative, and it doesn't make sense for the plot, but they feature like violence against women by like male partners quite a lot, and like that's a running thread. And this is a very this is the very female perspective on that, but also it's done in a way that like the main character, I have got such a crush on the main character as portrayed by Juno Temple.
Googling right now.
She is a woman who is like sort of a very ordinary housewife. She's living this like quite sort of pleasant middle class life. She has, a husband that she's very fond of. She has a little girl who she's very close to. And it quickly becomes apparent through a series of like small incidents in her life that she has this past that's quite dark and that no one in her family knows about. But the thing that I love about her is she's clearly had this past, and you learn more about it over the course of the season, but she's so determined. She's like, I fought my way out of a horrible situation and I'm never going back into it. And she's like so resourceful and determined and like tough, but without being like in any way unrealistically tough. She just brings this strength of like experience and just like determination of character to everything that she does, while still being like clearly both a very good and very kind person, but a person who is like, I have taken all the shit I'm going to take in my life, and I am not taking any more. Yes. And like, it's so like, it's tense. Obviously it's really tense because there's like all these things going on around her, and it becomes apparent that a lot of people have got agendas that they want her to serve. But
really?
She's like, I've got my agenda and I'm going to do everything that I can to protect the life that I've made for myself. And she is just like so inspirational in that. And I just, wow. I love her so much. It's just so refreshing as well, because as I say, there was, this tendency in the earlier seasons, and obviously like there's exceptions, like the cop characters in most of these installments have been women. So there were always strong female characters in the show. But there's also often been a female victim. So to just kind of turn that trope on its head and be like, well, what if she just didn't have to kind of take it? Anyway, I might have run out of steam on this because I might have to go and have a cough, but yeah.
I mean, you've sold me on it, to be fair. I've never seen Fargo, the TV show, and now I really want to see it.
Honestly, good jumping in point, I think, because, as I say, the rest kind of... Yeah, I'd say so. There's a sort of...
Oh, shit, okay.
Interconnection requiring a bit of knowledge, potentially. But this kind of does reboot it better. Sorry. I've been taking an antihistamine in mid-afternoon. I think I forgot it today.
Oh, shit.
Oh, no.
Okay.
You're seeing the come down. Oh.
The come down.
Oh,
yeah, right. This is my drug problem. 33 years old. Can't make it through a hot spring day without antihistamine.
I think
we
with
all have
Fargo,
our chemical dependencies.
Right.
I think with Fargo, I loved the movie. Like, Marge, I think, is such a fucking great character.
Great character.
Yes.
And then I saw season 1 and thought, well, fuck this. Like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
And I think I just kind of fell off, even though I do remember Martin Freeman being pretty good in it. Which is the one where there's a baddie who uses sign language?
He is in seasons 1 through 4, actually. Or 1 through 3, sorry. So he's like the common thread through a lot of it.
Right. So I think I saw... Yeah, he's really fucking good. I think I saw season 1 and a bit of season 2 that went, oh, no, I think I'm good. But that sounds so amazing.
Honestly, just jump back into season 5. I would say so, yeah.
I'm good.
Okay, that's really good to know. Yeah. I might do this.
And I want to watch the movie again because Marge is amazing.
Such a good movie.
Oh, she's so innocent. I mean, like, the casting is always so good in
Yeah.
in that whole show, and they quite often pick a comedic actor and then give them a very dramatic role to do, which is very similar to True Detective. So it's easy to see why the two get mixed up. Good luck whoever has to edit round my massive coughing fit there. By the way,
Liam.
sorry,
By
Liam.
the way.
Yeah. But yeah, Fargo season 5.
Nice.
Scott Leon
Fuck yeah.
is
Good
my
rec.
favourite one.
That is a good rap. Wreck.
Rachel, what's on your brain?
I'm so sorry, gang. I do not have hyperfixation.
Oh,
How
really?
could you have the time with all of these games? How would you make
Yeah,
the
good
time?
point, actually. Yeah.
That was the thing. It probably would have been either Animawell or Lorelei. It's probably Animawell, so I'm still kind of dipping into that. Lorelei, I really was my hyperfixation for, god damn it, like a full-on week. I honestly just don't, I do not have one. I'm resting.
Yeah,
Yeah, good.
My
Yeah,
hyperfixation
well,
is
good.
I'm resting.
hell yeah.
We love that.
That's
your
a
rest
very
vaccine.
respectable.
I'm in my
valid.
I'm in my resting era.
Go rest,
Yes.
girl.
Yeah,
You know,
Girl
the
resting.
number of times I've nearly said sleep on this podcast and then been like, no.
Oh, I do. Yes. Yeah. So mine is super quick. It's nothing. I'm resting. That is
Fair,
my
yeah.
hyperfixation. I'm really trying to rest.
You brought
Playing
enough today.
Playing 2 very intense puzzle games back to back really fried my brain in a good way, but also like in a very Jesus Christ. So yeah, I've been, and then obviously playing an emotionally fraught game, which took me on a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah, God.
I need a little rest. And just a
No
little
wonder.
rest. I'll go back to slaying soon.
We wish you all the best during your recovery period.
Thank you, babes.
We
So, yeah,
await
let's
your
go on
next slaying era. Great
So, yeah,
anticipation.
let's move on to you, Liam, babes. What have you been hyperfixating over?
So, right, I had finally a book I wanted to talk about, and I was so
Oh,
excited. I was
book
like, yes,
club,
I'm
book
back.
club.
I'm ready to do a book. Unfortunately, it's not my hyperfixation because I am nothing if not my 13-year-old self in the body of an adult. I was going to talk about The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, a really great book
shit.
that my sister lent me. I'm not going to talk about that.
Oh,
But I would recommend it. On Saturday, you're going to hate me when I actually tell you what my hyperfixation is. But this is a genuine hyperfixation, and we've got a...
yep.
It's called that.
Yep.
So on Saturday, I had a really lovely day. I had a very adult day in that I went to Holy Island with my 2 friends, Beck and Steve, and we had a lovely long walk around this island in Northumberland. We think we saw them filming 28 years later, which is quite exciting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because they're doing filming on the island. And then I came home. I was like, I'm very rested. Had a lot of sun. I'm going to get a very large Domino's. I'm going to watch a movie. And for some reason, I decided on Jackass Forever,
Oh my god.
the movie from 2 years ago. And you know what? I fucking loved it. I had an amazing time with Jackass Forever. As someone who would desperately try and watch Jackass on MTV back in the mid-2000s.
Oh,
would
yeah,
watch it
yeah.
at friends' houses or would sneak downstairs to watch it on the TV when my parents were in bed. Watching this movie was an absolute delightful blast of the past and just like a real journey back into the 90s and the early 2000s and that culture that Jackass was so, you know, involved in, you know, skateboarding and punk rock and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But what I didn't expect from this movie about repeatedly hitting other men in the balls is that because everyone is in their 50s and most of the people from Jackass are fathers and have, you know, overcome addiction and have moved on from intense fame
fuck.
from when they were young men. And Ryan Dunn sadly passed away a few years ago, one of the main cast members. It was simultaneously a sentimental sort of like piece about friendship and lasting friendship and just sort of like hanging out with your buds and yeah, they might, you know, flatten their penis and play ping pong with it, but it still
Oh
had
my
like
God.
it still had like sentimental elements
It's
to
always
it.
stuff with their dicks. It's
Oh,
always
I-
like
I think I saw. This is the problem, right? I watched Jackass Forever, and then straight after Netflix was like, "Hey, you want to watch the second?" Like they had so much footage, they released a second movie a year later of just like interview clips and more footage. I was like, "Yeah, I want to watch that immediately." I think it said something like the first Jackass movie was had the most male penises in it than any other R-rated movie at that
Wow.
point in time.
Wow.
doesn't surprise me. So look, you know what? I'm not above it. I like to think that I'm like some guy who, likes to read nice sentimental novels about sad lives. Sometimes you just got to have a big Domino's pizza. You got to watch Jackass. And I've had a wonderful
Hell
time.
yeah.
A really wonderful time.
I
Yeah.
approve of this message. Absolutely.
But also Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Very good book. Would recommend.
I'm not familiar with either, but I would happily
it's a
follow
good
both
book.
recommendations now.
Oh, if you've never seen Jackass, you will probably get a shock from watching that movie. Trust me. It goes
I've
places.
I've seen it when I was a teenager. I saw was there a movie out in like the sort of mid to late 2000s? Because I feel like I watched it.
Yeah, there's been 4 movies, which is mad.
Okay, well, I've definitely
Yeah.
seen whichever one was most current with me being like around leaving high school age.
Probably Jackass. Yeah.
Yeah, probably the first one.
I'm not proud of that. But you know what? Now that the teenage boy cat is out of the bag, after my sister dobbed me in, yeah, fine.
Amazing.
I'll lean into it.
Yeah.
Well,
Love.
that's it. We're back. Thank you for listening
Yay.
to episode 1 of season 2 of Indieventure, which we'll absolutely name episode 16.
Yeah.
We
Well, I was about
had
to
a
say, you're
joke.
not going to ask me to call it that way. 'cause
No, absolutely
I-
not. When we decided to take a break, we all made a very fun joke that we might change the name of the podcast again, get new art, maybe get a new theme song, and just reboot it every 15 episodes.
Amazing, incredible.
It would be such a funny bit. It would
It would be an amazing
destroy
bit.
us. Yeah.
It would
Also-
destroy us, yeah.
Taking the break, it was brilliant. It was good that we rested. Arguably, the best thing about taking a break was the one person on a Discord channel, the RPS Discord actually, who thought that we'd stop doing the podcast again.
Yes!
That really cracked me up. It was like a
I
split
really-
second where
yeah.
they were like, what? No. Oh, okay. No, they're back. Okay.
It's just a break, just a 1 episode break.
Just a break.
Aw.
Well, thank you so much for listening. You can get in touch with the podcast, contact at indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can find us everywhere. Just search Indieventure if you want to see all the games we've spoken about. What am I doing? I have an intro. I have an outro for this. This is all in
You
the
do
outro.
have an outro.
You're about to hear my voice talk about it. Oh, fuck it. Right. Bye. Love you.
Bye, everyone.
Indieventure is a video games podcast created, produced, hosted, and edited by Rachel Watts, Rebecca Jones, and me, Liam Richardson. For more information, including a list of every game we mentioned in this episode, make sure to check out our website, indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can get in touch by sending your questions, comments, and feedback to contact@indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can support the show by rating us 5 stars and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast provider of choice. Some of the games we talk about on the show may have been provided to us for free for review consideration. Our intro music and stings were composed for us by Ollie Newbury. Check the episode description to hear more of his excellent tunes. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks for another episode of Indieventure. Bye for now.